Mom, how you feeling, by the way, in LA?
Well, I'm getting better. My voice is getting better too.
Let's get right into it. So, it's election season's driving us all absolutely batshit crazy. This is
Yeah.
our last episode before the election, and we were going to do a big old election thing, but we decided we just needed a break. And this is an episode we filmed a few months ago with your dear friend Allan Stephan, your friend of 44 years or something like that. He was a producer on Roseanne, stand up with Sam Kinison, great old Hollywood stories. And we invited him. We filmed this a long, long time ago, and we've been holding on to it because the world got so crazy we never got to do it. So we decided to give America and our followers just a break from the madness. It's going to get crazy in November, December, and January. So just sit back and listen. There's some intel about the Roseanne show. There's a John Goodman cocaine story in here that I think your fans are going to love. The second hour of this show is phenomenal. Like I said, I've already edited it. That's where you get the Roseanne insights and stories. You guys get a little bit more into what happened backstage with the politics, and it's for Roseanne fans. This can be a really good one for you. So I hope you enjoy it.
Well, I just want to say Allan is my oldest friend, and he's my writing partner. And we just finished writing a whole new thing for me, and everybody's liking it. So maybe I will be coming back to TV. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. But everybody likes the show. So anyway, here's the new beginnings. This is, new beginnings, and don't let anybody stop you from getting out there and voting for Trump.
That's right. Bring 10 of your friends. Vote early. This has got to be too big to rig. We're seeing good positive signs, but never let up. You got to
No,
vote.
we don't know what they're going to do, but we know that they're going to try everything they can because they don't want the Constitution of the Republic of the United States of America, and that's what we're fighting for. So
I'm sorry. That's absolutely right. So the next time you see us, we will have an update on the election, as will the whole world. But for now, just sit back, enjoy, and listen to a couple old Hollywood people, old as in old friends, not old people in Hollywood.
we're all too.
That too. But before we go, Ma, since the election is coming, this is your last chance to place any bets on Call Sheet. We did this last week. Everyone's doing it. You can bet on who's going to win the election. You could bet on the House, the Senate, all sorts of stuff. You can actually make money off this election. And Call Sheet is a pretty cool company because they're the only place you can actually legally do it in all 50 states. And that means that's the only place you can legally bet on this kind of stuff. So tell the people a little bit more.
I call it Trump for all 50 states.
Trump for all 50. How much money are you going to put on that?
$10K.
All right, there it is. We'll follow up on that too. But tell the people a little bit more because they might want to get involved too.
Okay. I'm excited to show you guys an app called Call She. It's the first legal exchange where you can trade or bet on any event. Call She just got approval to list markets to trade on the outcome of the election, making it the first legal place to trade on the election in 100 years. Call She has markets on who will win the presidential election, who will control the House and Senate, who will win swing states, and more. Right now, Trump and Kamala are trading about 50-50, meaning if you place a bet on either, you will double your money if they end up winning. Call She has already facilitated over $1 billion in trade. The election markets are now live to trade. You can sign up using my link, callshe.com/bar, and the first 500 traders who deposit $50 will get a free $20 credit.
Well, it's pretty exciting. All right, well, let's place some bets, people, and let's see what happens. And go Trump. Hopefully, we pull this one off. Hopefully, it's too big to rig. And enjoy the episode. You might want to do your.
Hopefully God wins. Greetings, Earthlings and human beings and any animals who are intelligent, of course, and attracted to the sound of my melodious voice. People are sending me videos of their animals sleeping soundly because they finally heard an intelligent human. So keep sending those to me. I put them up on my Instagram. Welcome to the Roseanne Barr Podcast.
Oh, you see, my patience is growing thin.
Well, today's show is going to be a banger, a real banger. I have my oldest friend in the whole world on as my guest. He's a fellow comic, We met in 1982 in Denver. Allan Stephan. Hi,
Hello.
Allan.
Hello. Nice
Thanks
to
for
see
being
you.
here.
Hey, thank you.
So let's go back to that fateful night. As I informed you, Allan, of course, this whole interview is just about me.
That night in 82?
Yeah, tell about, because you changed my life.
You're kidding.
Why would I be kidding?
I just thought you were funny.
Well, I mean, I couldn't get on. They wouldn't put me on.
Well, here's what happened in those days. No woman was funny. I think we had two in LA, maybe. Boozler. Sandra hadn't even shown up yet, Bernard. And every now and then there was twins that used to sing Sisters, Sisters, terrible act. And that was it. So audiences, especially the men, weren't used to seeing a woman tell jokes. You know, they had Phyllis Diller. That's all they had to go
Joan.
by. Yeah. And that's it. And they're mostly followed by women. So I would go in early, and it was a Monday night. You know, I could drink for free. So I went there, and I'm sitting, and I remember you had like a moo thing on, and you walked out, but the walk to the mic had attitude. And it was all the jokes, you know, the husband and the cheese things in the couch. And I thought it was funny. And then at the end, you just looked him right in the face and went, well, some people say I'm not feminine. Well, they can suck my dick.
Yeah.
And you walked off stage, and I went over to the guy and he goes, hey, can she work here with me this week?
Because you were in town headlining.
Yeah.
You were one of the gods of comedy to us young comics in Denver. You had a full hour. We all had 10 minutes.
Well, I had 10. I would stretch to a full hour. You know, I like to talk to them. So nobody was doing it then. You know, they hold classes for it now. When I did it, the TV people would go, what is it you do?
Back to me.
Yes. Well, you did come work. And then I think we did a few gigs on the road.
Well, didn't you tell them you got to put that girl on? She's funny.
I not only told him that, but when he said no, I go, all right, well, I got to go home. He said, what? I said, I'm going home. And in those days, they couldn't just pick up the phone. Well, okay, you know. And
Is that true? I never heard this.
Reluctantly would never give it to me. You know what I mean? Then I found you funny. But thank God they don't mean anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as time passes, right?
Well, and also, I think sometimes when you get people like that, it just makes you better.
It kind of does, because you have to rise to the challenge and show them, right? Isn't that a big part of comedy?
That's exactly what it is.
Is it 40 years that you've been doing stand-up?
Over.
How long?
43.
Good Lord. Did you think you'd live this long?
Well, I never thought I'd be funny. And I had a real crisis at 30. I had no plan after that. And that's when the clubs opened and I started to make money. And I wonder what the next step is. I didn't want to do Carson, which turned your life around. Because I remember you took me on the road for Gregory Hines, which is a lot of fun, in Atlantic City. And then Julio Iglesias.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that was like right after the Tonight Show. I mean, that's the impact you made. And in those days, if you made that impact, the phone never stopped ringing the next day. And if Carson liked you, which he did, it's double that.
All right, Mom. Well, like we said, the world is on edge now. This election season's coming, and we call it election season now because it lasts 3 months and there's multiple riots and
well,
stuff.
It lasts 4 years.
Yeah.
As soon as we have one, we start fighting for the next one.
That's true.
We're the only country where that happens.
No, it's a full industry in itself, if you really think about it. And it's going to be so much upheaval no matter who wins. It's going to be dangerous. And, you know, you've been ill and you got your meds from TWC. And this is the time where you like really have to prepare because we don't know what's going to happen in the next month or two. There could be supply chain shortages. China can shut down the electric grid. Like this is the time to really, really stock up on all your essentials. And TWC.
The time to be prepared. That's the key. That's the key right there.
I agree. And TWC is one of the best ways to do it.
That's why I want to tell you about the Wellness Company's Contagion Emergency Kit. It's a lifesaver and put together by real experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. Inside it, you got medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, budesonide, and even a nebulizer. Don't let anybody play you or be a gatekeeper on your health. Just a few clicks, and this kit is delivered straight to your door. This is peace of mind for you and your family in these uncertain times. So twc.health/RB. Use the code RB to get $30 off and free shipping. That's twc.health/RB, code RB, for $30 off and free shipping. Don't wait for the next crisis to hit us. Get your kit today and take control of your health, especially your mental health, so you don't have to worry. How come you didn't want to do Carson?
I always wanted to be just a lounge act in Vegas. I saw Rickles before he was famous, and those lounge acts, it was Louis Prima. I mean, great acts.
Yeah, they were great.
And I thought, what a great gig. 5 nights a week, you sit here, go on 3 times, and go home. Nobody knows you across the border. I loved it. And that's all I dreamed of doing. I don't think comedy translates in 5 minutes on a talk show. I just don't. I know some people, it's their 6 minute where they're really funny.
Right.
And they make you, they always have a guy that tells you what you have to say.
Right, that's true.
And they're not funny either.
No, never.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And they're scared because they don't want to upset whoever the host is. We know what he likes, and they get the most milquetoast nonsense. So when somebody would come out with any kind of balls and funny, boom! Like I just watched Eddie Murphy's first appearance. Not that funny, but he's killing. It was the Times, and he had Saturday Night Live,
Mm-hmm.
and he was charming.
Well, he saved Saturday Night Live. It
Without
was
a
about
doubt.
ready to go down the drain, right?
Every one of his characters was James Brown.
That was the one.
With
That
the hot
was
tub.
so great.
In the hot tub.
Yeah, so great.
Buckwheat. He had a lot
Buckwheat
of good
was great.
characters. Yeah.
Mr. Roger, what was it?
Robinson's.
Mr. Robinson's
That
Neighborhood?
was-
Yeah.
That was the best.
Wasn't that great?
That
The
was
landlord.
the best. That's when the show was funny. I mean, they have like somebody that'll stand out every year, every other year. But for the most part, I would like to know what Lauren Michaels has on NBC.
Well,
He must have some pictures hidden away somewhere.
right?
They just think, do it again. We'll see you in, what's he, 50, 51 years.
Well, it's at 11:30 at night on Saturday. Like, what kind of rating does he even have to
Well,
work?
originally, all you had to do is beat the movie they would put on
Right.
at 11:30 back then. And on a bad day, he does that.
Right.
So it's kind of,
That's what it is.
and I think he has a lot of power now because, like, the Carson show brought in a lot of money.
Mhm.
I think Saturday Night Live does for them.
Yeah.
Well, he made a lot of money in the movies. I don't know if he ever made.
Yeah,
money.
he did. He
That's
made
where
it.
his power is.
And then NBC went into promoting movies. That's why they put Friends on Thursday, because Thursday was the night where they did all the movie, ads.
Yep.
Isn't it just one great big hustle, all of show business?
Sorry.
Yes, and I miss like the old agents and managers that knew that and handled it that way. And now when I used to pitch something, they say, okay, write it up. They'd pay you. Make this change. They pay you. Now it's all free. They want everything: the arc, the characters, the script.
Yeah.
And I go, and I always complain. I go, I'm not doing all that. They have the script. You either like it or you don't. But that's how things
Aren't they
have
just a
changed.
bunch of fucking thieves, Alan? They can't get an idea between them.
There are a bunch of people that are afraid to make a decision without somebody else saying yes. You ever notice when you go in, there's always an assistant. And when you leave, they have an opinion. So
They're probably the one with the real power to greenlight.
but the old
anything.
cigar chompers, I'll fuck you up. You're going to book them. You know what I mean? I miss those guys. I caught the tail end of that with APA.
Oh, God, I remember APA. Well, when was the first time you went on stage as a comic? How old were you?
The very first time? 20. 20. Yeah, 20. And I was working. No, I was 21. I was dating a girl that worked in a steak and brew, and it was 2 steak rooms and a lounge. And she was in the lounge. And I'd go in there, have a couple cocktails, and the band was a guy who played keyboards, and his sister was the drummer. And I'd sit in on the drums. And one night I took the mic, and it's boys from South Philly would come over, the white shoes and the white belt. And I'd stand and go, yeah, 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 like what my act eventually became. And the owner said, hey, it's your room Fridays and Saturdays. I'll pay you. Do whatever you want.
Wow.
And I'd go on stage and heckle the hell out of these guys. It was so much fun. And here's the mistake. They're having New Year's, the band Wild Cherry, I think, was playing another funky song, White Boy. Why don't you open for him, Allan? Well, now I panic and I take 2 jokes from Woody, 2 jokes from somebody else. I have a sandwich in my pocket to eat, a banana to peel. I'm so lost. And it's about 200 people, and the table closest to me is my mother, my father, and their friends. It is completely silent.
Oh.
I am there with a guy I knew since 2nd grade, and all you hear is my dad's laughter.
Ugh, that's
Oh,
painful.
God.
The show ends, and I'm in the parking lot, and my friend Jay says something, and I puked everywhere. And I get home, and I say to my father, what is wrong with you? Why would you do that to me? Because, Allan, you don't know how funny it is when somebody doesn't know how shitty they are.
What a dad.
I love that guy. He goes, you didn't feel their anger? And I swore I'd never do it again. And everybody in my family's a joke teller. I can't even remember jokes. So I go to California and meet Mitchell and a guy named Robert Lord, who I think lost his mind. And I had all this crazy energy. Like they'd go to a market and open the freezer, and I'd be sitting there and hand them the peas. And they kept laughing. They said, you ought to come to the store. Well, they needed bodies back then. So I went on and I did the midnight special news where I was Wolfman Jack and Tina Turner with a wig. It was, I can't believe how bad it was. And somebody says, yeah, you're a regular. I go, regular what? And you didn't get paid then, but it became your life. We were there 7 nights a week, and we were inseparable, which was Ali, Mike Binder, the original Argus, and a couple other guys. But we were always together 24/7. Then Robin came, it was the same. We go, I had the key to the big comedy store one time. It's got to be 81 or 80 because I have this black Jeep.
When you say Robin, you're saying Robin Williams, for people who don't know.
Oh, yeah, Robin Williams, the Mork. He hadn't morked yet.
Yeah, gotcha.
Morked.
So we went to the comedy store to get more beer at like 2:30 in the morning. I had the key and we're loading it into the Jeep and the hood's on. And there's too many people in my Jeep and cases of beer. And I don't get 2 feet off the curb and the police lights go on. And he comes over and he goes, you're parked in the red. How many people you got in that car? Nanu. Is Robin in there? Yes, sir, he is. You think I can get an autograph? I go, am I getting a ticket? Oh, hell no. And he gets a paper, Robin signs it, and he goes like this, I'll be off for 20 minutes. And he escorted us to Benedict Canyon where I live.
Wow.
And we're shit-faced. But when comedy hit in those days, everybody wanted to touch you. I just can't explain it.
It was like magic, wasn't it? It was the rock and roll.
It really was.
We were rock stars.
You'd come on stage and they just want to touch you, or they put a joint in your pocket, drugs in another. It was and packed 7 nights a week.
This is at the store?
Well, all clubs were once it caught on.
Yeah.
Like when I Saw Your Mom, they had become a comedy club.
Right.
Before that, they were a jazz club across the street, Basins Up.
Oh, really?
And I was the second comic in, and I finished the show. I have one joke left that I don't want to do. That's terrible Wizard of Oz thing. And I'm in the dressing room. They go, they're going to love you next show. I go, how many tickets did we sell? He goes, what do you mean? I go, for the next show. Tickets? We don't turn the room over because it was so new. So I have to go do another 45 with one joke. And this is why not Nichols, the other owner, hated me. I did an hour. And when I came off, he goes, you're just making it up. Like, well, they seem to enjoy it.
Do you like crowd work the best of all?
I get bored. And how I write is if I like it, I keep it. And I don't keep files. So sometimes I go, oh, I saw a new guy, do a thing about, when you go to San Diego and the sign is instead of animals, it's Mexicans, watch them crossing the highway.
Oh,
Well, I had a whole routine when I used to work La Jolla. And recently I saw a guy and it was pretty close to it. And I went, all right, well, he saw the sign too. But in those days, when I went to La Jolla, I had to middle and take care of Paulie Shore. That was the exchange.
you had to babysit Polly?
He lived with me. I lived in her condo with him.
How old was he when?
12.
Oh God.
Mitzi Shore's son,
I know.
Polly.
Yeah, they know Pauly Shore. Was he like that at 12?
It was not quite there yet, but a year later, I remember we were having dinner and he got up and said to his mom, I got a harsh out of here. I got a donut. And she just stared at him. I go, he's in a rush. He's meeting a girl. He goes, how do you know? I go, I've lived with him. And he would surf and there was sand everywhere. And I'm going to bring people home. So I took all his sandy clothes and put it in his bed. He got in there at night and you hear him screaming. He comes out cursing at me. I go, you have mistaken me for a butler. I said, this place, I don't care what your room looks like, but this place is good. He's never had discipline.
You lived with Mitzi and him, just the three of you?
No, Mitzi sent me down to San Diego.
She made him take Polly.
Permanently.
I have to hear. See, get into the story a little bit more.
Nobody's
please.
played San Diego longer than I have. The deal was, you go down there in middle, and I really didn't know what I was about quite yet.
Yeah.
But you're taking Paulie. As soon as we get down there, I'm in a Jeep with no cover, and I go in, and Paulie goes to the beach and comes back and goes, hey, where's my luggage? I go, well, if you're lucky, it's still in the Jeep. Then he had Ryan O'Neal's son over, Griffin, another spoiled kid. Griffin has 2 dogs on the couch. I go, let's keep the dogs on the carpet. Fuck you. I go, what'd you say to me, kid? He goes, fuck you. I go, I'll knock you the fuck out. He goes, my dad will kick your ass. I go, Ryan O'Neal? He goes, yeah. I go, he's 3 hours from here. Get the fucking dogs on the floor. And from that point, Griffin, he wouldn't leave me alone. No discipline, these kids. And when they got it, they loved you. Now, Paulie decides to be funny. And I'm talking to 2 girls at 2 in the morning on a Saturday night, going fairly well. And he comes down the aisle rubbing his eye. Dad, when can we go home? Those 2 girls went, you're a horrible person. That's your kid. And and they're gone. So the whole ride home, he goes, are you angry? I go, yeah. You'll know what you did years from now, but damn, you're funny. And he started to do little things to make me laugh. And I could see he was going to be funny. And, George Miller called her up and goes, I don't want to follow Allan. Then the next headliner. And then I headlined down there for 4 months. And KGB, the #1 station, I replaced their morning team when they went on vacation. They'd wait in line and bring me gifts. And nobody recognizes me ever. And they're in line to see me. So I'd go out the back door, stand 3/4 in that line and keep, who is this fucking guy? And I'd go up to the ticket lady and go, fuck, is this a line? Is it going to move? Till the people would start going, why don't you just get out of here? And I go back and I would have to wait 10 minutes for that laugh to die down. Because they have to sit through 2 acts. They introduce me and I come up and I go, wait a minute.
That's a good bit.
Yeah.
Well, so, okay. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, you come to the Comedy Store not in 82.
No, in 85.
After you went out with Louis, because Louis fell in love with you, Louis
Yeah.
Anderson.
Louis.
And he was the other big act at the time in
Yeah,
Denver.
in Denver. And
So
he came to my rescue too.
Well, he was like me. I remember him go, did you see that? I go, yes, I did. And, he knows funny. He really knew funny. And then I think, oh, gosh, you came out with the kids first, right?
Yeah, I came out with the kids and she made us go live at La Jolla in the condo.
When did you live in an apartment?
Well, I lived in the apartment when I first moved out there and brought my kids.
Do you remember Jess wrote something on the guy's
No,
was
wall?
Jake's
me.
the one that wrote it on the gay guys.
That was me.
And I went like this, I'll take care of this. And I go over there and there's a screen and I'm talking. You rip that door. You ever my kid again? And I'm standing there and I go, yeah.
But for people who don't know what
Oh,
happened,
yeah, that's what-
I had spray painted high in the parking garage.
Yeah, harmless kid crap.
And I went into the thing, and this old man walked up to me. He's like, "Stupid kid," and smacked me in the back of the head. And I went and
Oh,
told
that's what infuriated me.
yeah. So you
Well,
guys,
I'm standing at the
did you
door
guys beat up
trying
the
to
old
come
man?
out. Your mother went right at him.
I pull over, open his screen door. I go, if you ever lay your hands on my kid again, I think I said I'll kill you.
I didn't know.
Absolutely.
See, I never
Did
knew.
I?
I never knew this happened.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I
Well-
knew that I got hit in the head, and you were, and I told
Well, the
you.
funny for me is, I'm going to be the man.
yeah.
I'm at the screen
Yeah.
door, and let me and the get out of my way.
Yeah, no, mom.
It
Mom,
was so-
I remember
so
when I was,
funny.
when I was a kid, the neighbor beat us up. Jimmy, remember he beat up Jessica with a baton and swung me
He
around.
hit you in the head with
He
those-
grabbed my hoodie and swung me around. He was inbred. I remember, just real quick, one time I was talking to him. I was trying to be nice because I was so scared of him. You're trying to like be friends with the bully, and he was just chewing on it. And I was like, "Do you have more gum?" He's like, "No, it's my mom's toenail. It fell off of the public pool." So that was
Oh,
Jimmy.
God.
That was him. So anyway, he beat me and Jessica up, and I remember Mom went out and confronted them. We had like a family feud standoff. I do remember this. I was probably like 5. It was me, Jenny, and Jess, and Mom, and then his mom, and him and his sister, I think. And they called Mom fat. Like, what are you gonna do about it, fatty or something? And she goes, "I'm gonna sit on you and squash you like a potato chip."
I
And we
said,
all
I'm going to
laughed.
snap your spine
Oh,
in
that's
half
right.
like a fucking potato chip.
That's
That's
right.
what I'm going to do.
And then we laughed, and they walked. They took their head down and went inside because she got the bigger laugh. It was a big life lesson. Actually, it was cool. I just
It's
remember
like,
that.
hell no,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
not
it
going to.
was very funny.
Yeah, Mom's butch. That's how-
Right by
I'm
me.
so butch when it comes to my
Oh.
kids or anything.
Didn't we stay in a hotel when we traveled that had a goofy theme? Was it a Chuck Wagon Hotel or do you know the one I mean? I think it was in Colorado. It had a theme. It was an old place, but it was a Western theme, maybe.
I
It'll
can't
come to me.
remember. Where were we going?
We were in another place in Colorado, and that's where they put us up. And it just came to me.
What did we do when we were there?
We did a show somewhere, a couple shows somewhere.
No, I don't remember. That must have been Aspen. Was it when we went up to Aspen?
What a strange place. No.
Or we also went to,
You ever worked Vail?
yeah, Vail, we went there.
The room was at the end of the runway, and it was all glass, and the plane would come right up to here. But
I
you
do
don't know
remember
that,
that.
so you're doing. And then when it did move, there was this gorgeous mansion on the mountain. And I went, "Who's that belong to?" They went, "Webster." I go, "One fucking book."
Can I ask a question? Because just for your career is kind of fascinating to me. As little I know, was the Outlaws? It was called, right?
Well, actually, my mom was a model,
Right.
and at
Talk
8,
about
she
this.
said, "Would you like to model?" Because I had that it look, don't go by now.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear this.
We did Sears catalogs and runways because I can still feel the pins. Because if it didn't fit you, they pinned it till it did.
Oh my god.
Made no difference if you bled. And you'd walk, smile.
Okay, so we got a new sponsor. This one's exciting. You're gonna love this one. I was gonna brief you on this, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna drop this on her on air because she's gonna be so excited. This product, and one of the things hers is doing is Ozempic.
Oh, boy.
Right?
Oh, boy. And then we can start wearing good outfits. Hers is changing women's healthcare by providing access to GLP-1 weekly injections with the same active ingredient as Ozempic and Wegovy, as well as oral medication kits. Hers connects you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine your best treatment option. If you get the prescription, you get the medication as part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing support, check-ins, medication adjustments, and answers to your questions. 100% online at no additional cost. Through hers, weight loss plans are more affordable with compounded GLP-1 injections starting at $199 per month with a 12-month subscription paid up front. No hidden fees, no access fees, no membership fees. Plus, your personalized treatment ships for free directly to your door. Start your free online visit today at forhers.com/Roseanne. That's forhers.com/Roseanne for your personalized weight loss treatment options. Forhers.com/Roseanne. Hers weight loss is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription is required. Restrictions apply.
And then at around 10 or 11, my mother said, "Want to do TV commercials? Does it get me out of school?" So she taught me to take the bus to New York, and I briefly had an old lady manager named Florence Creasy,
How old were you?
10, 11. And she'd meet me, at the bus. Then at lunch, proceed to get shit-faced and cross me against lights. And I go, "Could I have a Coke?" "No, you will have milk and a burger, nothing else." "I'll have a martini." I'll slam 5 of those, and it's New York, crossing with red lights. She didn't give a shit. And then I went with an agency, Ann Wright, that was pretty good. And from there, I went with the original Wilhelmina. But I did 3 commercials that never aired. Maybe one did. I did Anison, and that was the first one. And you know who my mother is. She's a little out of her mind. I couldn't find her. She found a payphone that every time you put a dime in, 30 would come out. And she's working that payphone like a one-armed bandit. So I go, "Mom, what'd you think?" "I had a phone." But they had vibrating beds. And then it stopped because they wanted me to be normal, and I went to school.
Yeah.
And then Walt Disney was doing a movie called The One and Only Original Family Band. And they wanted kids that could sing, dance, and play instruments. And I got somehow past his, and he was coming to, you know this story?
Yeah,
He was
that's my
coming to New
favorite
York.
Allan story.
He was coming to New York so I could meet him.
Walt?
Yes.
Wow.
So the vibrating bed, I'm all excited. And I'm sitting there with my mom. And then my mom, somebody whispers to her, and she goes, "Mr. Disney's delayed. You're going to meet his right-hand person." And to me, you're a kid. The desk seemed like it was gigantic. And I went in and went right across her desk with drumsticks, sang "What a Day for a Daydream," and did some tap, and she just started crying her ass off. Didn't dismiss me. Finally, she went, "Holy shit, there's bad and then there's..." And I went out and I go, "Mom, I made her cry." She goes, "Get in the elevator. Mr. Disney died."
Oh, geez.
He had kept his cancer secret.
Oh, my God.
But that's how my mom delivers stuff. "Get in the elevator. Disney died." Your hopes and dreams are going down as the floors go.
Oh, that's awful.
And my dad would do this because I'd always say, "Quit your job. This is it." So that was his running joke. Thank God I didn't quit my job. Now, a couple of years go by, and there's a Broadway producer named Hilly Elkins, married to an actress named Claire. Oh, it'll come to me. Pretty lady. And they own the rights to a book called 100 Misunderstandings, out of print. But my aunt throws nothing out, and it's in her attic. It's all brown, and the pages are falling apart. And it's about a college kid whose his grandmom sends him $100, and he finds a 14-year-old black whore. This is late 50s, and one chapter's him, one chapter's her, and her street smarts are 10 times better than his education. That's basically it. And I had to audition, a few times and sign a paper for nudity, and I auditioned against some black actresses. And I told my dad, "Man, it's going to be like The Graduate." That's what he said. You ought to quit your job. 2 days later, I'm packing to go to New York to finalize this. The phone rings. My mother, I'll tell him. Allan, Hilly and Claire are getting a divorce, and they own that property, and it's part of the divorce. They're fighting. I go, what's that mean? They're not doing the movie. You hear my dad go, thank God I didn't quit my job. So by the time I get to comedy, my grandfather saw me somewhere, and I didn't know this till a few years later. He came to Atlantic City, maybe saw the Outlaws when we were headlining, and afterwards he said, I forgot it was you, which is a great compliment. But a few years prior, he called up my mother and said, you were too young when you had him. You don't give him enough discipline, and I personally think he's mentally ill. You have to get him help. He can't tell a joke. There's nothing funny about him. He sits in the corner his whole life. You've got to get him mental help. So I think it was maybe after I did Thick of the Night, the first TV show, my mom, one time she had a real conversation with me, just sat down and said, nobody believed in you. And now we get it. But my grandfather, you got to get him help. And then after he saw me again and it was really good, he goes, how come you don't do any golf jokes?
Your family.
Right?
So
But they're all
supportive.
joke tellers. But me and my dad's family were all pseudo gangsters. He had one uncle named Label who came here in the late 50s and was the boss of Baccarat at Caesars like 40 years. But he had to come here because the East Coast mob already took his leg.
Oh my God.
He was standing in between two cars and they smashed him. And then there was a campaign, Make Label Able. And he stole all the money and took off for Vegas. When I was being bar mitzvahed, I remember my dad, it was like midnight, he goes, we got to go to the airport. I go, why? Because got a surprise. And it's my Uncle Label. And he tells me, he said, Label's coming in. I go, won't they kill him? He goes, who's going to tell him? And he came to my bar mitzvah. And they're all nuts. He talked in, I can't even do it, not rhythms or rhymes, but it said like my dad was stews and fats and tats and dog tunes. And he'd get it perfect. Everybody had a name like that, and he'd remember them all. And they were a handful.
They were like, when you say, they sound like gangsters.
They were gangsters.
You said wannabe gangsters or something.
Well, no, they were real gangsters in New Jersey.
Well, I had one uncle, maybe two. One uncle in New York used to always get a new car. I go, what happened to the last one? He goes, don't dive in the lake. True story. Then I had another uncle. His son is a little younger than me, was living in Vegas. Him and his brother were kind of my age, and they were bookies. Father got him. So when they got in trouble, the father took the fall. And he eventually was able to be a dealer in Vegas, but he had to, go through all sorts of hoops. And then my mom had the second largest private title company in Jersey. And
title like for home?
Yeah, when you get a house
Yeah.
in Jersey, no matter what, you have to have a title clerk.
Yeah.
They make sure nothing's held on the house
It's like
or owed.
that everywhere now.
And, she did a lot of stuff for the mob.
Wow.
And she always said, they're very nice and they always pay on time. And one time she said, hey, help me in with the stuff in my trunk. And I pop it and it's shoebox after shoebox. I go, what is this? We go in and it's all cash. I couldn't make it to the bank and I didn't want to do it at the teller window, at the, the self thing. I go, who gave you this money? Oh, that family. And they had bought the steak and brew I might have worked in. They might have changed it and bought it. And then when I left New York, I couldn't cut it as an actor. Nothing was happening. I did a few plays. And again, the one big play I thought I was going to get, they sent me to a famous Russian lady to learn how to sing and make my voice hit the back of the wall. And she had a gay piano player, and I'm young. What do I know? But she had a cane. And she go, from the diaphragm. And I had 6 months of that. And then the show lost its financing.
You just got beat for no reason.
Man, I found that. Where is that diaphragm? I'm not letting this happen. Big lump.
Well, I remember when I came down, I had my kids after We got kicked out of that place for writing on the wall, "Hi."
Sorry.
And also the other thing was we were sitting in there, had my kids and my sister in there, and my other sister was down there by Mitzi's, condo. And so Jenny, my daughter, she just couldn't stop screaming, and nobody could stop her from screaming. Right, Jake?
Still that way.
It was like someone was being murdered, blood curdling screams.
Yeah.
And she would scream out the window, "Call the police," just to torment me.
Yeah, that's true.
And
she could project to the back
oh
of the
God,
room.
her voice she could be an
She yelled
opera.
at me one time.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Remember you caught her smoking? And you told me. And I think it was New Year's and your career was taking off and she was a little full of herself. "Mom, I'm having a New Year's party with champagne and caviar."
Oh yeah.
And I went like this, "Will there be smoking?" "I hate him. Why does he have to be here?" And craziness left.
Sounds like Jenny.
But so she's screaming, and a lady comes down. She goes, "Ma'am,
Oh,
ma'am,"
no.
remember this? Ma'am through the window. "Ma'am, can you please? It's 10 o'clock Sunday morning, ma'am. Can you please keep your children quiet, ma'am?"
What'd you do?
Fuck no! No one can make her stop screaming.
Yeah, good luck.
I was over the top. I'm like, of course, if I could keep her quiet, I would. And then I go, "And aren't you the bitch upstairs with that Arab boyfriend that I heard 2 nights ago where he's like, Debbie Bliss, Debbie Bliss," down there? And she's like, "No, you are non-communicative, Debbie Bliss. No, we cannot communicate." I go, "I was up all night listening to your shit. Get used to it." And then the landlord came over and made us move. And I told Mitzi, "I got nowhere to go and 3 kids." "Well, go down to La Jolla."
Right on the beach. Pretty good deal.
It was beautiful. And then you was coming down there.
That's when the beach was still right under the balcony almost,
Right,
before they made the road and ruined it.
right. And I remember my little sister lived down there, and she called me up. She goes, "My boyfriend broke my arm, remember?"
I remember she stabbed him with a fork.
I was getting to that.
You jumped the punchline.
You
now.
jumped the fucking punchline.
Well, that's the part I remember. I didn't know he broke her arm. I would have gone there.
You did go there, fool.
Oh, that sounds like me.
I love
Cut
a
him
podcast
out.
with 2 old people.
Cut him out. He
Neither of
don't
you
even
can
know what
remember.
he's saying.
Well, can I just put? Neither of you can remember anything because you both are so old. It's the best
No,
podcast
I
ever.
remember
right?
every minute of it. So
Okay.
I says to him, "Allan, I got to go get my sister."
Oh, that's right.
You had the gun.
That's
when you had the gun. I told you. And so I said, her boyfriend has broke her arm, and I'm going to go over there. I told her to pack her shit, and I'm going to go get
And
him.
you
bring
grabbed
her
a
over
gun.
here.
Oh, you skipped over that. You brought a gun to my
He
aunt's
always
house?
had a gun then.
Oh, okay.
Just in case somebody didn't like a joke.
So I go, "Allan, you better bring your gun, because we're going to have to go bust her out maybe." So we were really messed up. I think my kids actually wasn't there then, because they'd gone home with their dad. Yeah, they went.
Yeah, I don't
They
remember
went
this.
with their dad, so it was just me and.
I know we got really pissed off.
No, wait. So we go in, we park underground at her thing, and then you get out of the car. Nobody's in the underground parking lot. You get out of the car like Mannix. You got the gun up here like this, looking like this in the parking garage. You're like this. I go, "Allan, we're not even, she's down the street. Put it away." And so we go down there, and I go in there. I go, she had this gorgeous Mexican boyfriend, very tall, very beautiful. And I go, "You broke my fucking sister's arm, and we're leaving." And he goes, "Roseanne, do you know why I broke her arm? You know why her arm's injured?" I go, "No." He goes, "Because I was pulling it away from her stabbing me in the chest with a fork while I was asleep."
I forgot how bad it was.
Yeah, remember?
Well, here's what I remember. I remember a few weeks later, "Why don't you let me fix you up with your sister?" The fork stabber?
Didn't she stab him like 40 times or something?
No, she only stabbed him once or twice,
Oh,
but
that's
it
not
was
so
her
bad.
other boyfriend.
But he didn't purposely break her arm. He was trying to defend
Yeah,
himself.
self-defense.
She stabbed another one of her boyfriends back in the day too.
Oh yeah, Art. She stabbed.
No, Art's the one that
Oh.
pushed her arm.
Okay.
But she had another boyfriend. She stabbed him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was bipolar.
Well,
Whatever.
anyway, so Outlaws of Comedy.
Oh, the Outlaws of Comedy?
Yeah.
Well, here's how that comes about.
Didn't you do that after you worked on Roseanne?
No, that was all before.
This was before the Roseanne show,
Mhm.
the Outlaws of Comedy
Mhm.
that was with
That
Sam.
started in 85.
Yeah, let's talk about who
Oh,
was in
Christ,
that.
I've
Carla
got it all
Bow,
mixed
Well,
up.
Sam comes out
Sam Kinison.
in 80, Sam Kennison, married with a little girl, with Carl's brother, Sam's brother, the whole entourage.
Yeah.
And he's very polite. There's none of that screaming. I don't even remember him going on.
Was it clean?
He just said, I want to meet you in Belzer.
He wasn't Sam Kinison yet, right?
Well, I just know in Houston when they banned him, he made a cross and hung himself on it across the street. I don't know how sober you are to do
Yeah, I
that.
remember that story. Okay, sorry, go on.
True story.
No, it's one of the best.
And he was very nice, and then he disappeared. And he came back with the entourage, with no wife and no little kid, because it was her kid.
Hmm.
And they all lived together at different times, and sometimes they, wherever they could crash. And we always played music, and we said, whoever makes it, we'll make the band. We'll do something. And then, Sam, he's very unstable, so we were not friends. And he does his HBO special, and he's touring with Carl.
Mhm.
And we bump into each other, and I go up to his house, and at that point he had twins, blondes, with him. And he went to bed, and I see they're going through his pockets, so I called a cab and threw them out. So, of course, the next morning it's Angry Sam, and I have to sit him down and say, I protected you.
Yeah.
Because he trusts nothing. And he goes, well, why don't you and Carl come out? And that's what the Outlaws were. And then at some point,
Carla Bow.
we started rotating. It was Carl LeBeau, myself, and Sam. And then we had like guests. Belzer did it for 2 nights, but then Sam didn't like his attitude. Lenny Clark did it the longest. Paulie did it a few times, which is a pretty funny story. And Steve Kravitz.
And you guys toured?
First, it was like little theaters.
Yeah.
And then it went to arenas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
What's the
remember, it's
biggest
pretty big.
arena y'all ever played?
Well, we did a song with Bon Jovi. We did Wild Thing to 84,000 people
Yeah,
in
that's awesome.
North Jersey. But the biggest one we played might have been 35,000.
Wow.
And that's hard to control because they're there to see Sam.
Right.
So it, and I just go, listen, there's 2 more after me. You can go to the bathroom, but you got to shut the fuck up. And always somebody go, run. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And they go, row 101, seat R, I'll fuck you up. That was it. Show would start.
And then Roseanne, right? Well, I don't know what happened after that. I'm trying to get the
How
career
did it go?
Yeah, your career.
When did you come on Roseanne?
Sam was gone, and I had no career. Because if you were an outlaw, we're not booking you. You burn our place down.
Yeah, you're an outlaw.
In fact, I cut my hair, and there was a 400-seat room in Caesars in Tahoe, and I'm on the plane with the entertainment director. And he says, do you know Kinnison and his boys? No. I go, why? He goes, something's wrong with them. We opened the bar and the pool for them. They broke open the bar, and I go, well, maybe they weren't used to being famous or something. He goes, well, I got a big red X to their pictures. Every one of them, they will never fucking play Caesar's Tahoe. I finished my first set, and he's in the wings holding my picture with the X. He goes, the minute you're not funny or do something, you're out of here. Sam, that was our first headlining casino gig, tripped on a wire in the back, and they were just panicked. Sam was going to. So, get the yacht. They have a yacht. So we're on Lake Tahoe, like on a 200-foot yacht, stocked with shrimp, lobster. And we just kept calling down, we need tickets for Diana Ross, because they were afraid he was going to sue. But here's why it really went down. Steve Kravitz, I told Sam not to take him at the time. He was a heroin addict.
Okay.
Anyway, they did open the pool for us, and Steve has somewhat of a Jewish nose, and I'm a Jew, I can say it. And he dove in high, and he came up, and you saw that nose go, and blood everywhere in the pool. So they had to drain that pool and have it cleaned. And Sam, it was an accident. Now it's New Year's, and we're the theater where Jerry Seinfeld plays in New York. It's a famous theater. And the show's over. Weather sucks. Sam comes out. His limo's not there. That's what happened to my fucking limo. I go, I think it's in Harlem right now buying dope. And it was.
Wow.
And that's when he went.
Oh, he took the limo to Harlem. Didn't he die, Steve
No,
Kravitz?
he's still alive.
Is he sober off
Yes.
heroin?
Has been for years. And he's back to doing stand-up. and being
Oh, good
funny.
for him, poor bastard.
Yeah.
How many guys died from fucking heroin overdoses, comics?
Well, comics, it was overdosing on almost everything. Because I know some that died from alcohol poisoning. There was a guy, a sweet guy, Larry Beezer.
I remember Beezer.
And
I opened for him.
He was such an alcoholic. I forget what southern state he was in, but the police literally drove him to the edge of the state and pushed him into the next one and went, do not turn around. And he slowly was losing gigs. And he drank himself silly. And then, of course, Ollie Joe, obesity and booze. You know, they used a crane to move Ollie into the hospital. You know, he got so big towards the end.
Did he? How funny was that?
They took
son of a
100
bitch?
pounds of water off in a day. That's
Really?
how big he was.
Oh, remember how funny he was, though?
I loved
Nobody
his
was
opener.
funnier than
He'd
him.
take a beer.
Ollie Joe Prater?
Yeah. He'd
Yeah.
take a
He
beer,
came to our house for dinner.
an unopened beer, put it in his teeth, put it in his mouth, and go like this, and guzzle the whole beer, throw it on the floor, and go, that bear's everything I learned in college.
With his little tiny cowboy boots.
He looked just like
I
Yosemite
remember I
Sam
saw him cook a chicken on his radiator. He showed me when he's on
all
the
the
road.
time.
He cook it.
He either had an old Lincoln or an old Caddy, and he'd pull it over, chicken or steak.
This is the good old days of comedy. I was before my time. I love listening to this. I could hear this.
I
Ollie
wanted to
Joe.
go into like the strike when the comics like realized that they were building up the Comedy Store and the Improv and they wasn't getting a dime.
Actually, it wasn't built up. It was just starting to catch on. And she had that main room. It was a Mexican disco. And she redid it thinking she'll get the Buddy Hackett's. And she winds up with like Tiny Tim.
Hmm.
Because the comics go, hey, Vegas pays us millions. You're too close.
You're talking about Mitzi Shore.
So Argus naively says to her, he was the boyfriend at the time, why don't you use your headliners? And there was maybe 15 and 17 that were good. That you consider headliners. And she said, yeah. Well, the room was packed and they went, wait a minute. She's making money. We should be getting paid. Now she's maybe a year or two in. I forget, it was before the Jag, but the Pinto was gone. And all they see is she lives in that mansion, not knowing there's still a big mortgage on it. But I believe a certain comic, this is what Mitzi said to me, slept with her and she didn't want him back. And it was his vendetta to keep that thing going.
It's not someone we can name, I take it.
Huh?
It's not somebody you want to name, I take it.
Oh, I will after this beer is done.
Okay.
So some comic that she didn't want back as her
Well,
boyfriend
I remember
agitated for the strike.
She slept with the comics from time to time?
Oh, she fucked
she
all
slept
of
with
them.
all of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you guys sleep with her?
I didn't sleep
You
with her.
didn't. Did you?
Me either. That's
Oh.
why I was very friendly with her. She would call me with her personal problems. She'd call me at 3 a.m. You know, Argus, God bless him, was very much an alcoholic and out of control. And she calls me at 3 a.m. You know, I think he could be senator. And I had to sit and listen to this shit. And she was sincere,
I mean, he was that brilliant. He threw it all away with that booze.
Well, I remember I called his father, who was a preacher, and he said, well, you and that Jew woman have messed him up. And I went like this, I'll send him home with a body bag. Fuck you. And he's out of control. So his father finally comes and we're walking up to Crest Hill. And he says, Allan, our God. And I go, excuse me, sir? He didn't have anybody until we fired the fucker. And he just walked away from me. Ronnie Kenny catches up to us. The door opens. He realizes it's his father. And he says, you bagel-faced motherfucker, to me. And Ronnie Kenny sucker punches him in the face. He goes down on his tighty whities right across the wax floor. And I go, Ron, why would you hit him? You're going to take that? I go, I grew up one of 3 Jews. That's nothing. And then the father sent his brother, younger brother, who proceeded to put the mattress out on the balcony and fuck waitresses. So he was no help.
Jesus.
Then, and he's had me tell this story. Mitzi says, you gotta save him. So I take him to county, and it's Halloween, the county hospital, and they all have masks on, but they're like the shitty plastic kitty ones. It's the very Twilight Zone. Remember the... And they give him a thing to fill out, and he's filling it out, and he starts crying. I go, what's the matter? And it says if you act up, they can give you a lobotomy, the county. And I go, well, you're a comic. Wait a minute. And I go up. Excuse me. Nothing. Finally, I go, hey, Daffy. And the guy doesn't take it off. He talks to me with it. I said, what's this mean? He's a comic. And I just turned and went, Argus, let's go. I'm not leaving you here. And Mitzi went crazy. So then I took him to another place that didn't work. But then we decided it's got to be Betty Ford, and Mitzi's picking up the tab.
Yeah.
So Biff Maynard, who's out of his mind and dangerous, just wants to get him high and kill him. That would solve everything. And he's dead serious. So Ollie Joe comes over, and he says, I have a quarter of an ounce of cocaine, some beer. Let's tell him we're going to Palm Springs to party. I don't know whose convertible it is, but he's in the back, son of a bitch, in his white suit. Must be a week it's on him, not a spot. I don't know how he does it. And Ollie and I are up for 3 days because we had to convince him to get in the car. And we look like total shit. We smell. And as luck would have it, we stop at a bar in Palm Springs, and it's a guy that was running the store that Mitzi fired that came from the Playboy Club. And he proceeds to just keep giving Argus drinks. So now we go, and he sees the Betty Ford sign, and he says, can I please get a 6-pack before I go in there? So we turn around and get him a 6-pack. And while he's drinking, and I said, well, Ollie Joe and I will go in and set this up. We're standing at the counter, and the nurse comes out and says, 2? Ollie goes, 2 what? 2 people checking in? I go, we're not checking in. You sure? And with that, Argus comes around the corner straightening that tie like he's the long-lost Kennedy. And I go, it's him. And she thinks we're full of shit. And that worked for him.
Oh, you got him sober?
Yes.
Who is Argus?
Like 30-some years.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Argus Hamilton was a great comic, and
Great political
he was,
stuff.
real political stuff, like the best of it, and was Mitzi's boyfriend.
He's still killing at the store.
Really cool.
So anyway, the strike, we were on that.
Oh, the strike.
Yeah.
All right. So they decide they're going to organize everybody. And between the 2 coasts, that might be 600-700 people.
Wow.
And I'd say 698 of them are questionable at that time.
Not funny, you mean?
Or not.
Beyond not funny. And I'm one of them. But the little people like me, the unknowns. So Elaine Boozler called me up and said, would I organize them? And we went to the Hyatt House upstairs to their big room and had the meeting. And I remember Gallagher stood up and said, "Well, let's just get the cut and everybody else will fall in line." And I walked right down and into her office and I, "Mitzi, they're coming for you. What can I do? I will never pay them." And that was her stance. And eventually they organized enough people and found a union called AGVA that was about to go under. It was circus clown. For real. I'm not making it up. And once you align with the union, all the other unions have to pretend they agree with it.
Yeah, right.
Hence the union.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So SAG would go, "We're going to pull cards after we do this." It was horrible. So people were afraid. And 8 of us crossed the line every night. And it was hard. Leno would go, "You want to see this guy's not funny? What are you going to waste your money for?" And eventually it got ugly. And it was on the news every night. And it was embarrassing, I thought. Because for these brilliant comics that want to get paid, their signs are like, "No bucks, no yucks." And that was one of the better ones. Painful. And Paulie would get on the roof, he's a kid, and pee on everybody. And then I think Jay Leno got hit by a car. He was all right. Somebody pulling into that driveway. And then a guy named Steve Lebetkin, who was a troubled soul, but nobody realized it, was out front picketing. And Mitzi looked out and went, "Is that Steve Lebetkin? He's supposed to be in La Jolla tonight, working the Comedy Store. I'm not paying him to strike." And she said, "Go out there and tell him he's not working tonight." And after a week or two, he got it in his head that she controlled his career, and he jumped off the Hyatt House roof.
I remember this.
And then they broke in her office and put a dummy in there with a sign that said, "You killed Steve Lebetkin."
Oh my God.
And she was never right after that. Before that, laughed all the time, was fun, was sweet. After that,
Do you think she felt responsible when they played
No.
on it, or she just couldn't believe they went that low?
she couldn't believe these people turned on her.
Yeah.
It was like it starts in 72 and he gives it to her in the divorce, Sammy.
Yeah.
And he's mean. It's a joke. It doesn't make any money. Art LeBeau has it. She just gets the covers on the door. What is it, $1, $2 then?
Right.
No booze, no nothing.
There's
no
a comedy
office.
club or jazz. What was it? A comedy club?
No, it was the Comedy
Okay,
Store.
gotcha.
But the original room was half its size.
Okay.
The big room was a Mexican disco.
Okay.
Art LeBeau ran.
Okay.
Upstairs hadn't been used since 1960.
Wow. Okay.
And she sat at the bottom of the stairs with cigarettes and candy. And would drive her Pinto to the house. And her office was up there. And that's when the kids were really young, 7 and 9, I think.
So the divorce, she got it in the divorce.
But it was like, ha, ha, ha.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, and you can have the house too," which is the old Dorothy Lamour house, except it had a big-ass mortgage. So no matter what somebody might think of Mitzi Shore, whether she was knowledgeable in comedy, but in the right place at the right time, however you want to put it, it's her sweat that made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't quit. And believe me, she should have. I don't know how she was making it. And with 4 kids, except Scotty was already making money. He was 21 in real estate. I told you he had a jack on the beach where he'd plug in his phone. And he's my age, and I'm going, where did I go wrong? I can't even think like that. And the daughter didn't like her, Sandy, from the day I got there. And I remember she was a waitress briefly. Then she learned how to do nails. Peter was very quiet. And Paulie was a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And Steve Landisberg lived in that house with her when I came out. He later gets Barney Miller. But at this point, I don't even know if he did a Tonight Show. And I remember.
Yeah, he always did the Tonight Show. He always was on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, I'm not sure he had done one at this
Oh,
point
I
yet.
get it. Uh-huh.
Or he was getting ready to. And I remember being in the house, and he's talking to me, and Paulie runs by, and he grabs his hand, and he goes, "Slow down, or I'm going to rip your dick off." And he turns the conversation. All I could think is, well, none of these people are going to be normal in this house.
No.
I used to call it the Addams family. And so now the comics decide she's making money, and the real push behind it is the 17 headliners, and they're funny. Leno, Tom Dreesen, Boozler. Now, Tom Dreesen's best friend at the time is Marsha Warfield.
Yeah, Marsha's funny too. She's back at it.
So here's what happens after a few weeks. He goes upstairs to talk to Mitzi, and he comes down and goes, "The strike's over." And we're sitting in her booth, and Marsha Warfield goes, "Well, how much we getting?" He goes, "What do you mean? You're not getting anything. The 17 of us are going to get a piece of the door. And when you're good enough," Marsha goes, "Wait a minute. You used us?" And he marched back upstairs and started the strike. And at one point, they had to have meetings away from the store, but the Improv went, "You can do whatever you want here." And I got thrown out of there. Biff got thrown out. Marty Cohen got thrown out. At one point, Tom Dreesen goes, "If you don't agree with us, you got to go." And I raised my hand. He goes, "What?" And I go, "That's how they got the Jews on the train." They threw me out. Then Marty Cohen came out, and I said, "What did they throw you out for?" He goes, "You got me crazy with the Jew stuff." And then Biff came out, and he goes, "I just felt like getting thrown out." But I remember they had it in a theater one time, and the AGWA guy was going to speak, and it was recently reported that he stole money to build a pool for his house. And I'm sitting with Alan Bursky, who, when he is in the mood, is so annoyingly funny. And it was just like a scene in that Stallone movie, the Union movie. He looks at me and he goes, "What happened to the pool?" The guy tries to ignore. Somebody over there says, "Shut up." "What happened to the pool?" We disrupted that thing till it broke out in a fist fight. And of course, Bursky and I left. And here's another great Bursky story. Right after that, we're all sitting at the door of the original room where you come up the steps, Mitzi and a few comics. And somebody leans in and goes, "Mitzi, there's a bomb scare." She goes, "What?" "Somebody says there's a bomb here." She says, "What do you want to do?" I go, "Well, if you get everybody out of here, it's really bad publicity. However, if we kill 200 people, it's not good either." And with that, Bursky comes through the curtain, and Mitzi, this is how funny she could be. "Allan, come sit with us." But she thought we were going to be blown up. Is that the funniest? That's how mean her sense of humor was. "Allan, come sit with us." And later on, when I told him, there's a bomb scare, she thought you'd get blown up with it. Get the fuck out.
Well, now, when did you come to work on Roseanne?
Okay, I can't get any work after The Outlaws, so I said, "Well, I'm going to be a writer." And they give you 50 or 100 a joke. Well, I said, "I'm $1,000 retainer like a lawyer." Thinking, who'd do it? 20 people did it. Two guys I still owe jokes, Mark Price and Scott something. They just wanted to say Allan wrote for me. And one girl paid me $1,000 and I wouldn't give it back. She dated Bobby Kelton and the guy who booked Caesars. But today she is a multimillionaire for bras, a Jewish blonde. She has her, sells bras on TV and stuff for big girls. And she, back then, was the host of a little show on USA called Up All Night.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Rhonda.
Rhonda.
Yeah, Rhonda. Yeah, Rhonda Shear.
Shear,
She
yeah.
hires me to write for her. I give her 10 jokes, and I go, "Here's the deal. I don't want Bobby Kelton telling you what's funny." Okay. She calls me the next day. "None of them work." I go, "You don't have an act that could do 2 new jokes. Did Bobby tell you they didn't work?" "Yeah." I said, "Well, go fuck yourself." Told her that was the deal. 2 days later, my doorbell rings and I open it up and somebody starts yelling at me. I go, "Who are you?" It was her without the makeup, the heels. It was just some loud Jewish girl with a bad nose job screaming at me. She was so offended when I didn't recognize her. And then Bobby Kelton called me and I go, "Bobby, what do you want to fight me?" And he didn't like me because my joke on him was 20 Tonight shows and he calls home and his mom goes, "Who?" So, nobody liked me except Belzer. It used to be if Allan fought with you, you'd become famous.
You were
Like
like
Letterman,
the ringer.
Letterman comes up to me one night and goes, "I understand you do jokes about a gas station." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, I do that." I go, "David, there's a lot of gas stations. Which one are you doing? And he walked away from me, and he didn't see me again until I went with you when you were on there. And I think you had stepped out of the dressing room, and I'm eating those gourmet cookies. And he walks in, and it's literally like he saw a ghost. Well, what are you doing here? I think he thought somebody booked me and didn't tell him.
Oh.
I said, I work for Roseanne. I produce her show. And he went, what? And walked out. And Leno, after the strike, nobody would speak to me. A bunch of us were blackballed. You go to an audition, for a TV show, and they go, you the Allan the comic from the story? We've cast it already. So there was a lot of bad blood afterwards, and she agreed to pay $25 in the original room, and half the door you'd split with the comics in the big room. Well, in those days, you can make $400 or $500 a night.
That's good money.
So I really didn't have to go on the road. She'd work me every night. But initially, they were the only ones getting it. So they start the strike again. It gets all ugly. And they finally say they're going to take SAG cards. Well, I'm in it since I'm 10. So I asked to see a vice president. He lets me in, closes the door, locks it, and sits down and goes, you fucking asshole comics. I hope you all rot in hell. I go, well, what? Agva? Agva, you motherfucker? Screaming at me. I said, I'm from the other side. Are you going to pull SAG cards? He goes, you didn't hear it here, but wouldn't that be a little illegal, I think? I go, I think so. And I went, it was Marty Koldner, Pryor, Jimmy Walker, Argus, Mitzi. They said, they're not pulling cards. And they said, it's just me and somebody else has it anyway. It's a stupid threat. And eventually the 8 of us broke their backs. She gave in. And Bud never honored his deal, which he would do what she did. He paid $17.50 and took out taxes, which is against the law. And from that point on, if you knew her from day one, you could be friendly with her, but not at the store. If you went up to the house or in the parking lot. And I think I told you this story. One time in Vegas, after the show, I'm sitting with the comics, and she came in and said, Allan, you ought to wear a white suit, tell jokes about grape nuts. And before she could finish, I went, why'd you just hire that fucking guy? And she turned and walked down. The comics went, ooh. And a week later, 2 days later, she called me up and said, you will not play Vegas for a year or two. I said, what did I do? You cannot let them know that I'm not, they have to be afraid of me.
Yeah.
And you let them know. They just think, I was out of line too. They're not going to do it. They certainly aren't. And she kept me out of there for a year and a half.
Wow.
And she's my friend.
Yeah. Well,
But,
We'll get to the Roseanne show now.
okay.
So,
So now
yeah.
you leave Tom Arnold.
Oh, yeah.
And I do a talk show in the afternoon out of Chicago. It was a black girl. I can't remember her name. And I'm supposed to do one segment with the Denver comics.
I remember all that. Oh,
Well, this
Christ.
is how I get to your show. I'm so funny. They go, would you stay for the rest of the show? Not knowing the next group was the Inquirer writers. And they're obnoxious. I was on their movie set, and they were all over each other. And I go, so you don't like to have sex? And, the audience is screaming. Well, I don't know. The other guest is Tom's mother.
Oh, my God, really?
And she comes out, and before they start, she pinches me and goes, you're the enemy. I go, listen, your kid eats goldfish. And they go, okay, we're off. And we went back and forth.
I didn't know that. I never saw that.
Now Tom calls me up, and I'm with Bob Rubin. And I go, he must be upset how I handled his mother. So the whole day, to get Bob to laugh, if he walked by me, I'd bump into him and fall down. He go, what are you doing? I go, when he hits me, I'm going down. I'm taking every dime from that fat fuck. So I finally go to the trailer, and I really think that's what's going to happen. And he said, we're separated. I go, Jesus, just everywhere. Well, I think maybe, would you like to be on my show? And in my head, I know he's thinking, well, if I get Allan back, Roseanne will come back. So he says, can you give me like 10 show ideas and be on my show? So I did something on his show, gave him 10 ideas, and he said, I want all of them. The next call I got is, she's not coming back. I told her, you're a good writer. Good luck. We hung up the phone. And you called a couple days later and went, what are you doing on TV talking about me? I said, I defended you. Watch it. And they said, what are you doing? I said, nothing. I'm driving. Oh, my goodness. He's hot right now. Brian Holtzman's bullet-ridden Cordoba. God bless him. And he said, well, come write for me. And it wasn't the show. I think for a year and a half, I was in a trailer just punching up, not telling people. And one day I showed you that I thought the story was wrong. And your face got real serious and you went, you can write? I went, yeah. I hate to do this to you, Allan. And I had no idea what you meant. But I'm going to put you on the show. I went, well, that's great. I don't understand what's so bad about that. Yeah. First, it starts with your manager's sidekick, Green, says, I'll handle you, Allan. What do I know? He calls me up and goes, you're getting $8,000 a week. I go, what? The next caller is you. The fuck you're asking $8,000? I go, I didn't. And Sandra Bernhardt solved that one. She was with you and you told her, and she goes, Allan? Our Allan? Oh no, he'd ask for 50.
That's right.
And then I went and I took Rich Scheidner with me. And, you just don't want to make waves. And they're already ignoring me because in their minds I'm Tom.
Right.
And the third day, your mom had said, see if they'll do some of these ideas. And I said, Roseanne asked me to tell you these ideas. And, uh-huh. And after that meeting, Miriam Trodden, the woman, took me outside and said, can I speak to you? Oh, yeah? And she's right here. You are the lowest thing on the ladder. I'm not even sure there's a rung for you. I said, well, what did I do? You don't come in and tell us what to do. I go, I didn't tell you what to do. I suggested some of the stars' ideas. Well, that's not the way it works around here. And I just went, well, don't make me change that. She goes, what do you mean by that? I go, listen, I'm playing nice because I know everybody here is waiting for me to be bad. And I'm trying to get along with you. But I will tell her what piece of shit you are, which I never did. And they gave us a basketball. What did you have at that point? 15 comics? They give them a basketball. 6 or 7 of them, the writers, locked themselves in the room. And these guys played basketball all day.
Alan never told me this till last week.
What-
But they
what-
wouldn't let my comics in the writer's room.
Yeah, I want to hear. But what season was this? Or
Well, she's on
God.
4 or 5 years at this
okay,
point.
so go on.
And they're playing basketball. And if you add it all up, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to them, why can't we go in that room? Well, we're just jokes. So they would do this. There were so many writers, they made 5 groups of 4 or 5. And they'd go, we need a joke. And each room had to write 10 jokes for the one joke. And then the leader of that room would go in and pitch it. And we had a guy named Dave, barely could talk right as far as I'm concerned. And he would pitch a joke and it was like stabbing it. It was so bad. And, it's just my way I am. About the third time I made myself a room, nobody else.
Yeah.
And I went in and I pitched and they all laughed and went, what else do you have? I go, what else do I need? You all laughed.
Yeah.
And then they got mad at me. I go, boys, I do this every night off the top of my head. I have to be funny immediately. I'm not going to get any funnier giving you a 10th joke. Nobody is.
Right.
Thank you, Allan. And they wouldn't tell me until it was in the script. And this went on and on and on. And I go, basketball, they're getting fat from the candy room. It was just horrible. And then we had
So
Rob Yulin,
they wouldn't let the writers into the writing room.
the
The
comic she
comics.
hired.
The
Only
people I hired.
only the
Oh.
college writers
Of course.
with no experience and no fun.
And this is 4 or 5. So it's already number 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell about that one that you came down and told me went to Vassar.
They hire Carsey Warner, I think, next to the last year. Tracy or Stacy. And she would hide behind boxes. She has a disease where she can't look you in the face. And that's the co-exec Carsey Warner is hired. And your mom says to me one day, who keeps hiding behind the boxes and the walls? I go, your co-executive producer. So she decides she's going to write a script. They just assign it to each other, the 6 or 7. And in it is some French for, I think, vichyssoise, is that how you say it?
Something.
And something else. And I go down there and your mom goes, who the fuck thinks the Connors speak French? I go, well, your co-exec producer went to Vassar and she's very blue collar. And I had to go tell that little girl, you got to take that shit out, man.
Yeah.
At best, make it a Bloody Mary with a lot of lettuce. I mean, celery. And then I get this from her. You're just not a nice man. Okay.
It's not the first time you've heard that, I'm sure.
Vassar. Who looks at that resume with only wrote on one other show for a few years, but one other show?
Yeah.
Who says, oh, yeah, she's good for the Connors?
Carsey Warner.
So they, and the head writer at the time, Rob, oh, God, do you remember? You said to me one day, go up there and straighten him out like Tom would. I go, oh. So he comes in his office, I'm sitting there, and believe me, to them, I'm like the redheaded stepchild. What are you doing here? I go, Roseanne wanted me to speak to you. You? Yeah. Well, about what? I go, I'll cut to the chase. This is her ship. Let her sink it any way she wants. You got to start addressing her notes. He goes, excuse me. Walks out. I never see him again. So I leave and I go down to your trailer. This is what you said to me. You made Rob Hewlin cry? When he went, excuse me, he went down to you and went, how dare you send him? Because they knew nothing about me. It was just another crazy friend.
Right.
And he would come in and go in his office and sleep till about 6 or 7. Then order pies from Dupar's across the street. And that was supposed to appease everybody. And after about a week, in front of all the writers, I went, unless you're getting lobster, fucker, I'm done. I don't work past 7:30. Wake up. So he hated my guts. But that's what he would do. Can you believe it? And everybody's just like, There's like 20-some people. Then, was it Eric then?
I don't know
Might have
all
been
the
Eric
stories.
then. I upset every one of them, but it was just common sense.
Yeah, it seemed pretty I only came to the set. I was in school.
When
like,
they
a
made
few
me a
times.
consultant, I went in that writer's room with the basketball. Well, guess what's up, guys? And I brought in all the comics, and I handed, maybe it was the Amy Sherman. He wasn't married to her yet. Handed in the basketball, and they hated me for 2 days. And they went to Carsey Warner and said, he's making us play basketball. So I brought him back in, and I said, but everybody stays now.
Yeah.
And even if we had to have double chairs, everybody stays. Somebody might have a better idea.
Yeah.
And it killed those writers. Just killed
They're
them.
so juvenile. They were so
Well, the
juvenile.
college writers, I think, not only think they're smarter and have an attitude about them, but I think they thought the comics, what do they know about story? What do they know about the sitcom?
Comedy.
Yeah, they're just, and stories. Like I told you, Bob Nickman doesn't like me. He's one of the writers that's a comic, but has gone Carsey Warner. It's like the Civil War. And your mom throws out a script, and there's like 2 days left. And I'm going down to see what she wants to do, and he runs up to me and goes, here's a script. I go, who wrote this? Me. I go, well, why don't you show them? I showed them 2 years ago. I go, what's it about? John Goodman was in a band before he marries Roseanne, And once he gets married and leaves the band, they become famous. I go, give me that script. And that's all I said to you. And went, do it. And we got the Blues Travelers, and it was a great show. Only because that kid went, Allan's crazy enough to tell these people to fuck off. 2 years, because they didn't write it.
Right.
But what about the thing that real Roseanne cult viewers love is the 50s show. How about one? Well, didn't we write that in about 20 minutes?
Well, you know what happened? And this is why I love you. Whenever I have an idea, you don't poo-poo it. I had a dream. And I know every old sitcom, and it was Ozzie and Harriet. And there was an episode where Ricky wants to be in the band and Dad wants him to play football. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny to do that with DJ and Goodman? And he said, that's a great idea. And then I was talking, and we went, maybe we should just set it then. And then we did the lost episode thing, which I thought was clever because everybody had a lost episode. Carsey Warner sends a note down. What the fuck is this? But Bob Meyer got it. And he's the one that came up with the commercials. And Goodman might have said 2 words to me. When we were filming that, he pulled me aside and said, this show never won an Emmy. And I believe you just did it. Never talked to me after that. He was so excited and had so much fun, as did everybody, playing those parts. And the writers say, I say to them, it's going to open with Roseanne in her robe. And you said, get you a thing that made the cigarette longer. And I said, and she's going to say she's crazy. And they went, what? Well, who's going to tell her? I go, tell her what? Said, she's got to say she's crazy. I go, I went down and I go, we got to do a little thing. And he looked at me and says, I got it. And he went, this tonight's show is a lost episode, like my mind or something like that. It was very good. And then I got in trouble with Carsey Warner because I broke down the set without asking them. We put up a 50 set. So I got a note. That's $250,000, Allan. And I say to Courtney, so I know not to ask, just do it. And they put a white picket fence around the house. They changed the music. And I don't like Carsey Warner. And do you remember they said in the trades when that fight was going on with Goodman, well, that's our Rosie. So the name of that episode was That's Our Rosie. It was the 50s show, but it opened with an iris like the old ones. And then when it go to a commercial, go, that's our Rosie. Motherfucker, how's that?
Yes, they were always so supportive of me.
They never even put it up. They would have won an Emmy. They never, because it was me. Even Bob Meyer went, Allan, this is so damn funny. But their thing was, it's not Roseanne.
When you say never put it up, that means
for an Emmy.
Yeah.
They never put any of our shows up for an Emmy.
That
It
means, how does
never was even nominated.
You have to, when you say put it up, Carsey Warner.
Yeah, the actors
yeah,
won
the
it, not
producers
the
have
show.
to put up.
Carsey
but-
Warner.
Yeah, the
but
show
they
never won an Emmy, did it?
They did everything subtle to take me down as far as they could take me.
They did.
With everybody they hired, the way they ran the place.
Easier to explain now, but at the time I was so caught up on it, I just wanted to kill them all.
Yeah.
They called me behind my back Luca Brasi.
That's a compliment. Yeah.
The Godfather
Yeah.
killer. Because I had she hired some Denver comics. And Tom was doing McHale's Navy.
Oh, God.
And I happened to come in early one day. And I see they're writing McHale's Navy 3.
on my dime, in my office.
But I'm fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I work for her.
Right.
And I looked at them and I said, did he tell you you're going to get credit? And they said, yeah. And I go, let me explain. You have to rewrite 3/4 of this script to get credit, not touch it up. He's lying to you. Is he paying you? And we think a little bit. I go, well, then I would do it off of Roseanne's time. I'm not going to say anything, but if she finds out, I'm not denying it. And I waited about 3 days and told her.
Good. That's
and
them.
they hated me ever since.
I fired them. They all went on to work.
It was Matt Berry and Yeager.
Day and night.
And that David idiot with the 18 kids or whatever.
No, he wasn't one of the Denver writers.
No, but he was in that room
yeah.
with them. Because he was I guess they thought he was more experienced writer. But when I came there, those Denver guys couldn't believe this guy's so funny, you're going to love him. And then when I saw the attitude of the writers, they play basketball. I can be home getting high. It wasn't even about money. I can waste my time better. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basketball. And
Tell about when Goodman came in when he was busy doing Shakespeare down in La Jolla and
Yeah, I want some dirt.
couldn't be on the Roseanne show anymore because he's
First
too
off,
busy doing Shakespeare.
this is how shitty Carsey Warner is. It's the last year of the show, and they say John Goodman only has to do 7 or 9 of them. How do you wrap up a show?
Yeah. And you guys knew it was the last season.
So
at the
it
time.
was one of my arguments when they didn't want her to win the lottery.
Yeah.
In fact, we weren't even talking. We were fighting. You called me up and said, they don't. I said, well, it's not their show.
Yeah.
And I went and made sure it was that. But my argument was, we don't have John Goodman. How do you wrap up the show? Can I
Right.
kill him in the 3rd episode and move on?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't want that. I go, well, what do you want?
Right.
So then they gave in, and I wasn't smart enough to keep pushing. They wouldn't change the set. Who wins $300 million and stays in that house?
Right.
And that was their fuck you to us.
Right.
Go ahead, do your little fantasy. And your mom turns to me the 3rd show and goes, they're fucking us. And we can't make this a dream. They'll kill us. And just like this, year 2, John built me an office in the basement so I could be a writer. Find that clip. And that's, I think shortly after that is when we decided we're going to kill him off. And everything would be the book. That year was all the book. And I thought
Right.
it was very clever. And we got beat up like everybody does with an ending show.
Yeah.
But if you research it now, everything says, dare you not to cry. Dare you not to cry. Unbelievable. What a positive message at the end. And a couple colleges had a course on it.
Yeah.
On what happens when poor get rich, and used that as an example.
I always, because I know you got beat up on that, but like, it's always funny to me. I wasn't working on the show.
Well, it was a great way to talk about class.
Well,
Remember when they went to the Kennedy, when the family went to the Kennedy?
The best of that was we almost had a Kennedy, that Dina Merle.
Yeah.
Was American royalty, or Marjorie Post. Mar-Largo was her summer home.
yeah, that was her house.
So she had that air of being a Kennedy. And I got to tell you, I personally liked that episode. It was just,
I love it. It's got that Indian guy. That Indian
you
guy
know,
is
he's
so
in a lot of
funny.
movies.
He's so famous now.
Yeah. I didn't know if you knew that.
Or I can't remember like the real like kind of.
And one of the terrorists on the train when we did that one was Lawrence Hilton Jacob.
I know.
So we had some cool people.
What I want to say real quick is that The Connors was based off my mother's life. DJ here, sisters, she really did win the lottery in real life. She was a stand-up, moved to LA, gets a #1 show. So I always said that last season, because we, sometimes people would say shit. That was probably the most realistic part of the Roseanne show, because that really happened to us.
If they would have let us do what she really wanted, we would have gotten another 2 years.
Probably.
Even if the others left, which they wanted them gone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. They wanted to keep the show going with your mom and the new baby. Get rid of everybody else. That's how much they loved everybody.
Yeah.
Get rid of Goodman. Get rid of all of them. Move her to Vegas with, and I think our idea was you'd be seamstresses for a show, but live in the Vegas ghetto. And when I'm telling Stu Bloomberg this, he goes, there's no ghetto in Vegas. I go, have you ever been there? He goes, yeah. I go, have you gone off the strip at all? And there was a ghetto. And, Whoopi said she'd do it. We had 30 days. Carsey Warner waited too long. But they're putting in the paper, show's done. Show's done. When they're secretly, they don't want to give up the money.
No.
Believe me, they don't want to give up the money.
Well, not until now. Then they wanted to give it up.
And
different time.
If they would have let us really change the house and really go for what happens, when all of a sudden you're nothing and you can do anything. That was the whole idea.
Yeah.
And, once they put us in that house, and then whoever decorated it, that was another fuck you to us.
God.
It was shit
Everything
didn't
was
even
a
make
fuck
sense with the dinosaur still on the shelf.
Everything was a fuck you.
Mhm.
Now I look back, I mean, they did fuck me like they always
Well,
wanted
I thought
to.
I was clever because with that deal, I got you 2 more trailers. That's why you had a separate wardrobe one and a separate makeup one. And I got that by going, hey, what's that little 3-bedroom ranch you're doing next to the Sybil's studio? Well, that's her dressing room. I go, Roseanne has to walk by that.
Yeah.
And she's been getting her makeup done all these years and squeezing her ass into where they do the clothing. You built her a 3-bedroom ranch house? This ain't going to be good. And Tom Warner goes, well, how can we keep it quiet? Well, give us a wardrobe trailer, give us some room. We're not making that much money. And I would go, I know, you're a charity. I know that. And they gave it because I remember your
I
mom.
mean, they must have hated me from the day it went to #1. They hated
Here's
my
where they
guts.
hated you. First off, they screwed you. It should say at best co-created by.
No, I knew that. Yeah.
And then they hire a guy who proceeds to think it's his show.
Oh, they put me in terrible positions, but I never went down, and they hated
Well,
me that I didn't
it's what
go
I
down.
said to that Margaret Cho's manager.
Yeah.
Why did you hire her if you don't want her to be herself? Because I remember you telling me the guy's going, Roseanne wouldn't say that. And you're screaming, I'm Roseanne. I mean, how dumb do you have to be not to understand that?
They're just sadistic thieves.
Well, they hire comics and then go, but can you do it this way? What'd you hire them for?
Yeah, hire that
It
guy.
makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then when she went #1, the country only heard one side.
Yeah.
The side they released. She gives writers numbers. She screams. She walks off. When I got there and saw what was really going on, I felt terrible for her.
Yeah.
Because they had mentally tortured her for a lot of years.
They did it. They brought her back 20 years later and did it again.
Yeah.
I saw it.
I was stupid. I go, oh, all's forgiven. It's all a beautiful
No,
world.
I'm
La,
sure.
la,
I'm
la,
sure.
la, la.
I'm positive this was one of their conversations. Well, if she starts her shit again, well, we'll just get rid of her.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying they were just waiting.
Yeah.
That's so weird because I mean, why wouldn't they just love you? You give them like it's not just a #1 show.
You know what
it's
happened? They
lore.
Because
became
they're
billionaires.
sadistic pricks.
And with billionaires, they become know-it-alls.
Right, but this is like one of the most famous shows ever to grace television.
Listen, Tom calls me in
just a
at
hit.
the end and said, here's how the show's going to end. She's going to become a comedian. And I said, is that your idea?
Exactly like Seinfeld.
Yeah. I go, is that your idea? He goes, yes. I go, well, no offense. I put it on your desk 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't care whose fucking idea it is. You make it happen. You make sure you tell her. And I'm a little shit. Real calmly went, oh, you can bet I'm going to tell her, Tom. And I went right to Harrowhead and told you. That's all fuck. I mean, just this.
What about tell that?
Arrogant. They're arrogant.
Oh.
Which one did you want to hear?
No, I
Want to hear about the joke book?
No, that one's sickening.
It's really sickening.
Yeah, tell that one.
So, all those jokes we would write.
When you weren't playing basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never asked what happened to all the ones they don't use. Well, I'm not privy because I'm not an executive and I'm not playing basketball. And she would leave.
Yeah.
And they, she walked off, call us back in and make us write another 50 jokes. Well, when I became the executive assistant, would be a little pushy. One day it just occurred to me and I said to the lovely girl who was my assistant, what happens to all those jokes? 2 of them, just for the season that was happening, it's this thick.
Wow.
And I said, where'd that come from? Oh, it's been here since day 1. I went down, put it down. Your mom went, what is this? I go, you tell me. Where'd you get this? And I tell her, I go, from now on, pick a joke you like. If you don't like any of those, call me direct. And I'll fix it, because they're assholes. Never walked off again. She loved going through that book and making the decision or making a joke better, where they'd make the decision for her, let her walk off, and then tell Carsey Warner she's crazy.
Yeah.
The last year of the show, ABC gets a new girl that has to read the scripts and give you notes.
Yeah.
And of course, no exec's been on that set for years and no notes are taken, but she's new. And she goes, I was told you wouldn't accept them. I go, well, who told you that? Well, it's a known fact. They're a nightmare over there. And I go, I don't know where you get this. I'll gladly listen to your notes. I don't say a word to your mother. It's Monday. Thursday, every one of her notes have naturally come out in the process. So I call her up and thank her. Really? Now I learned she wanted to be a journalist. I'm getting shit out of her. About the fourth time, she says, these jokes, I go, you're not going to win all of them. I've been pretty good. And I haven't done a thing. She just doesn't understand the process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how funny your mother is. I say to her, why don't you come to the show one night? Oh, nobody's allowed on that show. I go, where'd you hear that? And she's sitting in the front. And at the end of the show, I say to your mom, when we go by that lady, just say, hey, hi. And you turn to me and went, is that a fucking executive? I quit. Didn't even know the woman. She's brand new. But after that, she couldn't go back to the others. She'd go back and go, I don't know what you're talking about. They're very nice over there. All the years, whatever happened, her fault.
Oh, I thought you didn't allow executives. I always thought that.
I did. I banned them from when we went #1. I said, you're no longer welcome here, to Tom Warner.
Yeah.
Marcy Carsey.
I think that's
I
the
don't want to
greatest.
take your notes and
Yeah.
I don't want to hear your shit. You tried to kill me.
Yeah.
Why would I go
Not
back in
just
business
that.
with them?
Didn't they try to get rid of you? Go to
Yeah,
John
they
and
tried to
Lori?
steal my show in the beginning.
it
How would
was-
you feel about not having her? What?
They tried to kick you off the first season, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that show was originally something and stuff. What did they call
Life and Stuff or
it? That
some
was the name of the
horseshit.
show. And
When I saw that, I went fucking ape shit.
you
I said-
lived in the house off of
Yeah,
in
Genesee.
Encino. And I remember
Oh.
saying to you, this isn't good, because they had recently got rid of that Valerie Harper
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't in her name. And then I just remember you went, those motherfuckers. Then it became Roseanne.
Yeah.
Which made it a little harder for them.
But they
Not
still
that
tried.
they didn't try.
Well, they eventually succeeded.
Yeah, they stole.
Maybe
they're
that
just
was what it was about.
sadistic thieves. I remember Tom Warner took us to New York on his private jet, and I thought, well, this is going nice. It's going to be different this time. We got in a car on our way to New York, and we're talking, and I was saying about, it's great to have a mother-centered home back on TV. And this one, my blood ran cold. He goes, just like this, looking out the window, I hated my mother. And I went, oh, God, this is a bad fucking thing
There you
right
go.
now.
There it is.
He said it so blood cold. And I was like, something is going to happen.
They found a formula.
There
Get
it
a
is.
comic, give them a show.
Yeah.
And then they proceed to try. It's so, I just don't understand. Even, I used to say this to the writers. She's a comedian. She goes in front of audiences.
Makes them
You
laugh.
sit here drinking Cokes and talking about it.
Yeah.
Why do you think you know what's funny?
More
I
than
said,
that.
at least hear her thoughts. She's a comedian.
Yeah.
Forget it's her show.
That's crazy.
It's beyond crazy.
Yeah.
And to think that wheel kept turning, and it kept turning because of her.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
how many magazines, how many everything? She turning that wheel.
I always thought you ran everyone always says you ran the writer's room and you were the best. I mean, even Judd Apatow or fucking Joss Whedon, they give you credit.
I did. There were friendly times when I went up there, but I always kind of ran it through Allan. I mean,
Yeah, by the
I'd take
time
my
I get there,
ideas up there. I mean,
it's
I
them
just
against
couldn't
her.
go up to the room because when I did, they'd go, or, I'd say my idea. Oh, that's so funny. Or it could happen that a guy comes in and greases you, fucks you in the ass. I'm like, that one. Or like I go, and then this with Dark. Oh, good idea. Or they never. So that's
And-
why I needed a man. That's why I got Tom,
Yeah.
who never did anything but
promote himself.
do himself. But then when Allan came, I was like, take these ideas up and get them serviced. And
That's
he
crazy.
did.
It's your fucking show. It's your name.
Yeah, I had to go through all that. And
Well, that was my
then-
line. It's her show.
Yeah.
Well, we don't like what she's doing. It's her right to sink it any way she wants if that's what you think she's doing. But you got to stop it. And
It was everyday torture.
I mean, for
None
real.
of it was as torturous as when I went back. They doubled down. I thought it was, I believed.
Well, you
all
know
that
when they
shit.
doubled down, it's with the Trump stuff.
Yeah, and
They-
and they knew it, and I thought they were all for it.
Well,
they
here's
said.
what you do when you're a writer on a show and it's not your show. At worst, you say to the star, can we show both sides? Can Lori be a Democrat?
No, that was my idea.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
but
they didn't.
They didn't want to talk anything but their version of politics.
Yeah. Well,
But it's not their show.
that's just Hollywood. But I do know a really important moment we've talked about a couple times.
I think they just
When-
really got off on rubbing my face in the
Well, remember
dirt from
the
day
president
one.
said next season before you got fired, it's not going to be as political. Remember, that's why you got mad.
That's what I'm saying. They were already hunting. Her
No,
head was
that's why.
already big.
I mean, Mom's admitted this on the podcast before, but that was right before the famous tweet.
Yeah.
She read the president of ABC said it's not going to be political. It's not her fucking show. And
I
why
was
wouldn't
like,
it be
who
political?
told you that?
Yeah, so she
And
It's
it's
not
tanked
going
it.
to be
She
political
sabotaged
next
it.
year.
Biggest thing on TV at the time.
Biggest thing.
And he doesn't get it?
No, they were mad. It was the same thing. I mean, we've told this story before.
They were mad because I wasn't trashing Trump.
They were mad because it opened at 24 million and it wasn't
28.
28. But even then, it wasn't Trump is Satan, he needs to
Believe
go
me,
to prison.
they did not expect what happened.
We all did. We all knew. I mean, that's the Middle America
I'm
she
telling
started
I
you.
the
knew he
first
was
season.
going to win.
Not just that. That's
No,
Middle
I'm
America.
talking about.
They didn't think
your
they were
show.
gonna. They didn't think it was gonna be as successful.
I knew
these
it
things.
was going to be huge.
I did too.
I don't
That's
think
America.
they believed it. I think they thought, like the other ones they were redoing. We'll do, half a season
No,
or
they did.
something.
They think Trump has it's 40 KKK members that support Trump. That's what they think in LA. It's like, oh, it's just a couple of January 6ers. They don't understand. It's Middle America. It's working class.
But
That's
you're
who his
also not
people-
hired to have an opinion.
And when I was up in that room with like 100 libtard
Yeah.
writers,
That's what it was.
I mean, it was just racist to the max, and I couldn't take it anymore. And then they had, like ABC was being run by BLM.
It seemed like it, didn't it?
They give me that look. When when a Jew hater looks at you, you can
Yep.
smell it coming from a mile away. You know that look where it's like, it was all my Jewdar was off the fucking maps with their shit. Because they're looking racist Trump supporter. Because that's their whole thing is like, Jews are at the top. They're the whitest of the white.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're fucking Nazis.
You remember the showrunner said to you, because he has no depth, and he said to you, said something about a joke, and he goes, their attention span, you got to get right to it. You can't have story.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Because, the shows he did are all jokey shows. But when after that first meeting, I knew there was a problem.
Yeah.
Because she left there and you went there all happy. And he called me afterwards and said, I don't think they're listening to a word I have.
No, I remember going to the set. And it was really cliquey. It was Mom and everybody else. And they were treating her like some kind of fucking weird leopard they had to work with.
That's why I'm thinking they were waiting.
They were.
Yeah.
They were, of course.
Whether it was
It was
that
like
or
being
something
black
else.
in a Klan meeting.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like every day to go in there. I was like, you got to do it.
And you were so calm. And I remember, I was around the first
Well, there
time.
were
She was
still some
crazy as shit.
poison writers from the original show.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the reasons they didn't want to hire me.
Yeah.
They went to them and said, no, that guy will do exactly what she wants.
Right.
They don't want that.
No.
That's when I realized that I was going to drop the nuke on the whole fucking show.
And you
I
did.
had it.
No, thank you. Again, I've said
And
this
I
before.
was
Admit
like,
this.
you know what I'm going to do?
You did it.
I was drunk. and on Ambien.
This
fucking
is what
had
I
that
want to hear.
shit.
This is much
I was
better.
like, motherfucker, I'm gonna say it like it is.
You did.
But it wasn't racist. You never said
Well,
No,
nothing
but
to
she
do
knew
with
it
the
would be
words
taken.
they said you said.
No.
You know, you had a reporter. You said, well, talk to Allan, you know.
Yeah.
And the first thing, you know, nobody likes me because I'm very direct. And I went, wait, is this a hatchet piece?
Mhm.
Oh, no, by no means. No, when she called her a monkey, I went, she
Yeah.
never
The
said
racist
that,
tweet.
and I am done talking to you
Yeah.
because you're lying.
Yeah.
And I hung up when I called your mom. I go, he's not a good guy.
No, it was a
Not a
cabal.
good guy.
Everything was Roseanne's racist tweet. They still say it.
I said, and
hilarious.
may I reiterate, because it's happening right now. It's the perfect time to say it.
But you knew you.
I thought I made a mistake because I thought everybody was hip to the Muslim Brotherhood
No.
and how they had control of America
They
because of Obama and Valerie Jarrett and
They
the
still
Iran
don't.
deal.
They still don't.
And they still don't.
No, they think
7
it's-
years later.
It's the Jews.
And I must say, I don't know anybody that didn't know that that woman wasn't white.
Yeah.
I thought she was white.
I thought the bitch was white.
No,
I
that's
know.
why I wanted. Like, whatever. You.
I love it because when these people, these protesters and these leftists, well, I wanted to show what racist they are.
Thank you. That's what I wanted you
I
to talk
wanted
about. Why
it
can't
to
you just
come
admit
back to where, hey, when the militarized police force of the Democrats comes and locks you up because you spoke wrong, think of the movie Planet of the Apes.
it? Or find you guilty on 34 felonies that didn't exist 2 years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the Muslim Brotherhood, another of their genius
Yep.
plots against America.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can come over here and kiss my rosy red ass.
Yeah. Well, they're finding out.
And I said, and the Iran deal is going to destroy Israel. Well, look what happened on October 7th.
But here's the big
My
crime.
tweet was a prophecy. The motherfuckers knew it because I said Muslim Brotherhood. That's why I got fired, not because of the other part.
Yeah, you can't call Voldemort, and you can't say Muslim Brotherhood. You can't do it now because
Well,
they're
I'm
in charge.
saying it all the time, and
Me
I'm
too.
noticing that a lot more people are saying it.
Because we're stepping up.
Since I got into saying Muslim Brotherhood, those are the people that are teaching America to be anti-Semitic.
We do it every week here on the Roseanne Barr Podcast.
And Obama's fake peace deal
Mhm.
of his horse shit, that warmongering piece of crap.
Well, wasn't that the problem with the ABC president? Wasn't she liking Obama?
Oh yeah.
She's a BLM.
No, they were friends. Michelle Obama called her directly.
Michelle Obama's the one that called ABC to
They're all at
fire me.
Netflix now with Susan Rice and the
That
Obamas.
was so funny because Tommy Smothers told me, don't push it because Nixon called CBS and got us fired. Don't push
That's
it
true.
too far because that's what they're going to do to you. I go, no, they ain't. He goes, girl.
I didn't even
And
remember
he
that.
was so right.
Yeah.
But I guess I wanted to be a martyr.
Thank
I
you.
guess I wanted to go like, hey, I'll take the first step. I'm number one. Fuck it. I'm number one to the 10th factor. And you know what? Like all these motherfuckers that go up to get their Academy Award, they say, we must free Palestine, all their horse shit. Well, I was saying Muslim Brotherhood ain't nothing but goddamn militarized police at your door if you say the wrong thing. And their spokesman is Valerie Jarrett, and Obama's brain trust is the Iranian lobbyist Valerie Jarrett.
Mhm.
And so that's what I said. Hey, I'm number one. Fuck it.
But you
Bravo.
never called
Because I
anybody
want to drop the
a
whole
monkey.
bomb. No, I never
The
said
word
you.
monkey
Fuck
was
'em.
never there.
Well,
See-
it's Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Like my
But you
my
didn't say-
ex-publicist said to me, it doesn't matter what you meant. You use the word apes.
Right.
How racist is that?
That's what I'm saying.
Completely racist.
That's the funniest
I
part.
go, what? You hear the word apes and you think of black people?
Yep.
You
That's
fucking
racist.
racist
That's
piece
the
of
funniest
shit.
part of it all. It's the funniest part of the entire.
That's racist as hell.
It's the funniest part.
But
That's the part.
is.
That's why I never got
That's
mad. I think it's
Wealthy
hilarious.
white. I hate to say it because I'm
They're
not.
called awfuls.
Yeah, I'm not political.
Affluent,
They're called
white,
liberals.
feminist liberals.
Michael Malice.
Awfuls.
That was Michael Malice's term.
Unbelievable. And everybody got a chance to apologize for whatever bullshit they did.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. And
Well,
first
they
off,
ruined him
how they
too.
lob your mother in with the sexual bullshit.
That was
and all
my
that.
favorite. That was my favorite.
It's just shows how
Did you know
stupid
my
they
line?
are.
The one time I ever went viral, I said I wish my mom had sexually abused someone in Hollywood because then they would have supported her.
Well, can I tell you how many times a day somebody says something about Jews
Oh yeah,
on TV, The View?
me?
Nothing happens.
No.
Whoopi was, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's white people
I
fighting
think
white
3
people.
times she said something about Jews.
Yeah.
Got
She
in
all the
trouble.
time. What about her name, Whoopi Goldberg? She ain't no Jew. That's black. That's Jew face.
It is. Be like,
That's exactly what it is.
put on blackface and talk about black people and see what happens to you.
It's all just double standard bullshit, and they can kiss my ass. They stole everything I worked on, but you know what?
You knew it would piss him off. It's okay.
I was like, fuck it, I'm not coming
Thank
back
you.
to
Quit.
that bullshit
Thank
show.
you. I want you to show that you're a fucking
They
badass
said, will
martyr.
you come back? They
Tell the
called
truth.
me-
They asked you to come back. Did
They
they not?
said, come back on the 12th episode of The Conners. I said, so you're asking me to be a fucking guest star in the show you stole from me?
Mhm.
You can go fuck yourself. Then they called back again and said, well, we want you to come back as the ghost of Roseanne Connor on The
Because they
Conners.
weren't getting the ratings.
Yeah. I go, the ghost my ass, you killed the bitch.
Yeah.
She's dead on the fucking
And that
door
was
now.
nasty.
I go, she's dead on the fucking door now. And you know what? That means she's an angel. She's an angel, and she damn sure isn't coming back to the people that killed her. Or I said, maybe I will come back and be an angel. And I wanted to come back and go, you motherfuckers ain't nothing but shit. And I always knew you were a dyke, Darlene.
All right,
fucking
let's
whore.
edit that.
Well, I told you when it happened, your fans aren't going anywhere. So at some point,
Mom got bigger.
you're going to, that's exactly right.
I knew what happened. I loved the tweet. I love the sabotage. I love the I keep telling her to admit to
I
it.
was like, fuck you,
I think it's the
ABC.
most badass shit. Number
are
one, and
nothing
you
but
fuck it up.
whores for fucking communist
Yeah.
China.
Thank you.
But you
You can
understand
kiss
what I'm
my
saying
fucking
about,
ass, you communist whores for China.
you know, if they hire you to write Rockford, you don't go in and go, well, now Rockford's this Denver, you know, you write the character. That's your job.
They hated the character because
Because she was a middle class.
she was a working class
Yes.
mom. They hate moms. They hate women.
They do.
They think men can be better women. They think a woman without a dick is like a duck without a bicycle. Fucking motherfucking crazy ass sons of a bitch.
They hate working class. They hate Trump
They hate the
supporters. They
working
hate Trump
class.
supporters.
Well,
That's
they
what
hate
it
well,
is.
they don't
themselves.
understand it.
They hate their fucking selves.
When we had the rights to
Because they know they
AbFab,
ain't nothing but demons from hell's fucking
who was
nothing
the
but
president of ABC when you got AbFab? Do you remember him going, I'm doing this show? We're
Ted.
the future. We sent him a couple episodes, and he calls me up. He goes, Allan, these women are unredeemable. They're terrible people. I go, Ted, that's,
about AbFab.
I go, Ted, that's what we're laughing at.
Yeah. Have you never
He
seen
goes, well,
AbFab?
I'm not like that. I go,
I don't give a
I
fuck.
go, well, I'm not like you.
Yeah.
He goes, what do you mean? I go, how much is a quart of milk? He goes, I have no fucking idea. And I go, then you're never going to get this show.
Well said.
That's the funny.
Yeah.
Well, I just think they're ugly people. We're the future.
Fucking rat bastards, huh?
We're the future.
What do you think of the state of comedy? We'll end on this one. Because I'm drunk
Comedy
as
has
a
become what
skunk.
music has become. Like all the
Corporate.
great musicians are selling their stuff because there's no
Their
way to make money
catalogs.
really anymore unless you're a Taylor Swift and you can do the concerts. Those concerts are very expensive.
I hate that little whore.
I couldn't name a song, but the state of comedy is there's 400,000 or 800,000 comedians. Now I told you the strike story. 800 was questionable. Can you imagine? I don't even have to imagine. I see it.
Yeah.
I go to these clubs in Vegas and stuff,
No.
and they literally say to you, I'm headlining. I go, yes, but it's Taco John's at midnight. I'm not even making that up. A little girl saw me, called me up and said, would you do it? And I go, it's midnight at a taco thing. I did that. I already paid those dues. We pay? Well, how much? $50. I went like this. Well, thank God I'm independently wealthy. But you should see on Facebook,
Remember-
they all have headlining.
Listen, I'm going to propose something to you right now. Remember when we went and seen Steve and Edie's show?
It was great.
It was great. Me and Allan were watching Steve and Edie, And I go, Allan, when we're in our, I said 60s. I said, when we're in our 60s, we've got to do this show. Because I want to wear the dress where you go like this and the wings, with the wings, like
She would
Edie.
sing a song. Stevie Lawrence and Edie Gourmet, married couple that were very great entertainers and singers and headliners for years and years.
What era?
And we went to see them at the Mirage.
They were in the Rat Pack.
Oh, okay.
We went to see them at the Mirage, and they sing together, and then he does some, then she does some. But at the end of one of her songs, her arms go up like this. And
Her
it's like
gown
wings,
is like a butterfly.
and then
with
when she
wings.
turns around, as she lifts, it all becomes wings, and your mother and I are just dying.
That sounds hilarious.
But it's brilliantly done.
Yeah.
It
But
was-
that's real Vegas.
Did she lift off with like a pulley system?
No,
or-
then she sang and she had a great jazz voice,
Yeah.
and so did he. But I go, Allan, this is our act in our 60s.
You should.
And they're like,
Can you sing?
remember, and they had these tender moments. We'd have to make it all up. Remember our son, Jason?
We should do it just
We
for the hell of
should,
it.
just for the hell of it. Maybe for my birthday.
We should.
I want to do that show for my birthday.
It's very funny.
You remember when our daughter, Sandy, will do.
It was so show businessy, and they're so brilliantly slick at that point because it's 50 years, you know.
It's loungy like you like, the
Yeah.
loungy thing.
And remember how funny he was in the back?
He was brilliantly funny.
Very funny. And she
Those-
was a lovely lady, but that gown, you don't see it coming. I couldn't imagine the hours.
I
that
would
went
wear a
into it.
gown like that, and the silhouette, the light was coming through the wings. What would be so funny if I had that, and then like in really dark silhouette was a perfect, like really shapely body underneath. Like that would be brown or
fat suit.
something. So I go like this. And
That's so funny. That's so funny. Oh boy. Yeah, the Mirage is gone.
Yeah.
We're going to
They're
start
all
knocking
gone.
it down. It's going to be the Hard Rock Giant Guitar Hotel.
Is that what it's going to be?
Don't they already
Mhm.
have a Hard Rock Giant Guitar Hotel in Vegas?
No, they had a Hard Rock Casino,
Oh.
but it wasn't a guitar. Their new hotels are a giant guitar, and that's actually the hotel.
I thought Con Air and Nicolas Cage flew into that guitar.
No, they had a sign,
Oh, okay.
but this is actually the hotel.
So Hard Rock still makes. There's still a restaurant that makes money to get to a hotel. I haven't seen Hard Rock
Well,
in 20 years.
Dice was playing the Hard Rock.
Oh,
wasn't
really?
Yep, and it was run. The hotel was run by Virgin,
he? That's
and the
right.
casino was run by the Indians, but the Indians just backed out.
Hmm.
So I don't know what's happening.
Is there still a
there.
mob in Vegas?
Huh?
Is the mafia still in Vegas?
On a smaller level.
How do they get beat out?
How did
by
they get out?
No, they got
Howard Hughes.
What do you mean?
Howard Hughes moves to Vegas,
Uh-huh.
and he's at the top of the Desert Inn, and they want him out.
And
He's
he's
here.
Howard Hughes at this
Yeah.
point, right? Is he the shoebox
They,
and pea
they
jars?
don't know. That's exactly what's happening. Nobody sees him. He
Okay.
just has Mormons that work for him,
Okay.
and they say he's got to get out. He's here too long. And he looks out that window, says to one of the Mormons, "Buy these casinos."
No
He
shit.
bought 5 in one day at a ridiculous, the most money spent on real estate at the time.
He bought out the mob.
Just so he could stay at the Desert Inn. Now, what happened is the mob went, yeah, we'll cash out. And then the Mormons turned it corporate. So in the old days, the mob only cared about the gambling. If they gave Sinatra $1 million and they lost money on the tickets, they didn't care. They'd gamble.
Right.
Every department didn't have to make money.
Right.
With the corporates, the hotel doesn't own most of the restaurants anymore. And if they don't pay their rent or if they don't make a certain percentage, they throw them out.
Right.
And it's the same with the comedy rooms. The casinos have nothing to do with entertainment. There's only maybe 2 or 3. And they're all owned by corporations. Like
Yeah.
there's 3 corporations that own all the casinos.
Yeah, I know. You can tell when you go. It's
Mhm.
different. I mean,
Now
What do you think of comedy? Is it going to get big again?
I think it is.
it's like music. It's going to need something. It's going to need something different because it's stale as stale can be. And Vegas is changing. It's not Vegas anymore.
What do you mean you think that there will need to be a new kind of comic? to spur it on.
Just a good one that I would settle for. They talk about this one kid that works the audience. He's very pretty. Rife.
Yeah, Matt Rife. I don't get it either.
He's pretty and the women like him.
Yeah, I know. I don't get
In
that
my
one.
day, pretty didn't work for comedy.
No, obviously.
I
But
remember Marty Allen. I had a mustache and he went, "Shave it. Comedy doesn't work with hair on your face." They all had their thing.
I think there's some good comics.
I
out
do
now.
too. I think there's
I
more
do.
and
But
more.
they're not breaking through enough.
Well, because you know why? Because they're doing clubs like the Mothership where people lock their fucking phones up
Well,
because they don't
they're
want to get
also
canceled.
doing, but
Lock their phones.
You lock your phones at the Mothership.
Well, yeah, we don't want our mistakes out there.
That's what I'm saying. So there is electric comedy going on at the Mothership, and it's good comedy. You just don't see it because they don't
Well,
let you
here's good
film it because
comedy
you'll get
to
Michael
me.
Richards.
Can they do an hour and a half?
I mean, yeah,
Some of them can.
some of them can.
I'd be impressed because everybody I see farts out after 20 minutes.
Bill Burr blows me away.
Bill Burr, I like.
I mean,
But
not
Bill
anymore.
Burr
He's
is getting a
communist.
little repetitive.
He's a commie
Yeah,
now.
I think so too. His wife blows
His
it.
wife is pegging him.
His
into
BLM
submission.
shit, I can't take
He's
it.
getting pegged.
But Tony Hinchcliffe, I've seen him do an hour.
Oh,
It's
he's the
killer.
biggest thing in
From
comedy right
top
now.
to bottom, 1 hour at the top.
Well, how
peak.
about Brian Holtzman?
I haven't seen him, so I can't say.
He's making money in comedy
Yeah.
like he's never made before.
Yeah.
I took him out on the road, oh man, in the early 90s. And he can't do the same thing twice. That's the funny part about him. Once he gets worked up into those rants, I'm not sure the hamster can keep up. And I took him to a club in Memphis. It was a Laugh Factory. And the guy who owned it said, listen, no Jesus jokes and no Elvis jokes. And I say to Brian, he says, got it.
Oh, no. Oh,
So
no.
Elvis is fucking Jesus. No lie. First thing. And the owner standing next to me goes, did you put him up to that? I went, yeah. We won't do it next show. I went back, you crazy motherfucker. I'm trying to take you to get for your career, get you working on the road. You got to listen. And this is him telling the story. I just remember I kept holding Jack and Cokes. Once we went out drinking afterwards, and I got drunk, and he'd hold it so I could go to the bathroom. That's what he remembers. Then I brought him in for the late night show. The sketch show. And he goes, I don't know how to do characters. I go, listen, all you have to do, you're a unique man, but you can't show it the way you're auditioning. Pretend you're a drill sergeant and yell. Pretend you're a cop and yell. So he shows up with this little old lady. Apparently he was a late in life baby. I thought it was his grandmother. It was his mother. And I said, that's not going to help you. And he goes in. And later on, the casting people come to me and go, would you like to see your friend? And they pop it in. And he starts out the first minute, perfect. And then he goes, fucking Allan. Fucking Allan. Fucking Allan. Fuck. And I turn to them and I go, well, that's one character. In the 90s, a jetliner went down and wiped out everybody. It's on the news at about 6 in the afternoon. The show's at 8. He's the first one on. And everything's fine. And he goes, something about that plane. And they boo him. And he says something else. And he can't shake stuff. And then he goes, what if I tell you the baby wouldn't stop crying? Boo, boo. And he tells a couple other jokes. He goes, what if I were to tell you the toilets were stuffed? Boo. He just wouldn't stop it.
That's what I like.
And that's how I see his act. He gets into these rants. And if you follow it, it's funny.
Yeah.
Even when it's not, because he's genuinely
He's artistic.
there.
Yeah.
My grandson opened for him. Todd, my grandson, is doing stand-up. He won't let me see it. I'm like, let me see some tapes of your act, He's like, no, you're not to see it. And then he was hosting an open mic down here. I said, what if I drop in? He goes, everyone gets 5, but you get 1. And then I go, well, what are you doing? And so I asked somebody else. They go, He's talking about wanting to fuck trannies.
Yeah, masturbating to transsexual porn. That's his bit.
Oh my God, I don't want to see. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, you got to start somewhere. First off, I think it's great. One of them's doing comedy.
No, two of them are now, Cosmo and Aton.
Oh, my guy Cosmo is?
Cosmo, I told you, Cosmo at the talent show, I told you about the joke he told. I told you at the school talent
I
show.
thought it was the other one.
No, that's Cosmo. Aton's doing the stand-up here in Austin.
I once had a neighbor that annoyed me. This was before computers. And in the back of a magazine of the Village Voice, there was a foot fetish ad. And I put his address and answered it. And he used to get mail in those brown envelopes with little feet stamped on it. And he said to the post office, "Who keeps sending me this stuff?"
And on that note,
And on that note,
I think we'll end this. Thank you so much for
Hey,
being
thank
here.
you.
We have to do more.
Yeah, because there's a million stories.
You didn't even tell the John Goodman coked up drunk story.
Let me
yeah, I
tell it
want
right
some
now.
dirt. Give me some
Huh?
fucking dirt
Yeah,
for
okay.
clips,
Okay.
man. Let's
All
get some
right.
clips.
'Cause
John
that
Goodman-
was the best one.
John Goodman only has to do
Because
9
he's
shows.
doing Shakespeare rather than the Roseanne
What
show.
Shakespeare was Goodman doing?
Down in
Theater.
La Jolla in a
Theater.
90-seat
Okay.
playhouse.
So he only has to do 9 shows. So he shows up one day on a tape day, and they're 14, 15 hours.
Yeah.
And I say, "John, would you do some pickup stuff so I can put you in more episodes?" So I'd have him shoot like 5 scenes, so it would look like, and he's going to get paid a lot of money. The mistake is thinking he could wait around that long. So everybody's gone. It's after the shoot. I keep 2 cameramen, Drew, who's his friend, and Lori. And I'm just going to bank stuff.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's in the show.
Future episodes. you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there on the seat, and Lori never talks to me. "Can I talk to you?" "Yeah, what's the matter?" "Can I talk to you over there?" "Yeah, what's the matter?" "Look at John. Do you see anything different?" And he's leaning on the kitchen counter with his glasses on and a script. Looked pretty studious and like he was working to me. And I go, "What's wrong with him?" "When have you seen him with a script? When, when have you seen him put his glasses on and look at a script?" I go, "What are you saying?" "He smells and he's high. I don't want to do this." And I've seen this guy in New York. This is a big boy when he's intoxicated and high.
Yeah.
So I don't want to confront him. So I go, "Lori, go home." But I go home. "Thank you. It's a long day. Thank you." And I go over to a camera guy and I go, "Slowly walk backwards and leave."
It's like a wild animal.
And John's still. I go to the other camera guy. "Slowly walk backwards and leave." Now I'm sitting there and Drew's sitting next to me. He goes, "Where'd everybody go?" I go, "Home." "He's fucked up and you're his friend. Go get the keys from his dressing room and throw them on the roof." And he came back and he goes, "Now what?" And I go, "Now go tell him I'm going home." He ran out of there.
Did
I
he tell
ran
him?
out of there. But he said he handled it well and spent the night in his dressing room.
Wow.
But Lori, it's the second time she talked to me. But she was,
Scared.
yeah.
Did she have reason to be scared? Did he do stuff before?
Well, first off, you're tired as hell. It's
Yeah.
almost 16 hours later till we set up these shots.
Yeah.
But he would have made a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
But, at that point, he was gone.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? But I just thought he was being studious. But when
That's
she
how you
brought it
know.
up,
That's like when you get high and you're trying to pass and you're like, look, I'm reading.
that's what
That's
he was doing.
fucking
Yeah, he was really
hilarious.
seriously like moving his glasses.
I'm like,
And it
oh,
was
what's
funny
my
because
line?
usually he's animated, he's loud.
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing him with a script.
That's hilarious. That's how you know John Goodman's
Remember
high.
Army Archer, the columnist?
Yeah. I
He
don't
called
know.
up and said, "My wife needs her insurance. Can you just stick her in a seat?" And I'll never forget this. The show comes on that night and she's holding a script. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, I went down to the director and I go, "Do you realize she's holding a script in the scene?" thank God she's in the back and you can't see it. I said to the director, could you please direct, look at hands and what they're holding.
I didn't know
Holding
that.
her script, the little old lady. She had no lines.
That's hilarious. That is so good.
Well,
And-
on that
Well,
note,
can we have? And there any more dirt before we hang it? Because I want Roseanne dirt.
We'll have to save the dirt for the next time
Okay,
because there's a lot of it.
that's what we
oh
want.
yeah, that'll
Or
be
save
part
it
two.
for
Lot of
your
it.
book
Yeah, or the book.
because we're gonna do that.
We could never get it all. There's plenty for that book.
Oh my God, I can't wait till we start writing it
That's
down.
how you get your revenge.
Oh, I'm going to tell every dirty thing the motherfuckers did. How they sat there like that, selling me out.
Karma's a bitch.
Whatever.
And so
It's
Karma
is
just
is.
hard
Roseanne.
for me to accept.
Karma's a bitch, and
It's
so
like
am
they
I.
hire Harry Belafonte and go, "You're not going to do that Calypso shit, are you?"
Yeah, seriously.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just such nonsense. You're not doing that Calypso shit.
do some Sinatras and do some jazz standards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
they just love to. They love to hack away at somebody.
Well, they want to feel what it's like to be creative. That's what it is. It's like they find someone creative and they're like, let me give you a couple ideas, and therefore,
It'll rub off on me, and I'll be just like them.
and then not, and then they
like
hate
Sarah
you for
Gilbert
it.
sat in the writer's room for
Yeah.
3 months, and all of a sudden she's a fucking executive producer / writer.
How about
Not
her?
a nice
Her
girl.
claims to fame now are The Talk, which she stole from The View, and The Conners, which she stole from you. So she's a TV executive. None of her shit's original. It's literally just stolen from somebody else.
I'll tell the best Sarah story ever. So one day I'm talking to her. She's a young girl, and she's talking about her family and everything. She goes, "Well, I used to have a brother." I go, "Huh?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "What happened to him? Where'd he go?" "Oh, I don't know. He's 15 and just left home one day, and we never saw him again." I go, "Your brother was 15 years old. He just disappeared, and y'all never looked for him or found him or nothing." She goes, "Yeah,
It's probably
No, I don't know.
Probably at Epstein Island.
No, that's what she said.
Yeah.
And I just stared.
Isn't that weird?
I went home and I had the heebie-jeebies. I couldn't fathom it. She goes, "Yeah, he just left home one day. We never seen him
She
again."
strikes me as a person that
Who's-
has deep trouble
Who,
things.
first of all, says, "I had a brother, and then when he was 15, he just disappeared."
Whatever happened? I
No
don't
Never
know.
looked for
postcard?
him? No, we never looked
And
for
she's
him.
Hollywood royalty. Her parents, her sister was on Little House of the
Oh, I
Prairie.
know
Her
who her
parents were
sister was. Who were the parents?
they were TV writers,
Oh, I didn't know
weren't
that.
they, Mom?
Huh?
They were famous TV writers.
Her
Is that not true?
grandfather was. Well,
Okay.
he stole Jackie Gleason shit.
But my point is, she
And
she was
says he
Hollywood
created
royalty.
The Honeymooners. I don't think so.
yeah, that's probably where she got it. He probably stole that fucking show too.
Yeah, that's in her blood, stealing other people's shit.
Because she didn't get fucking hired for her looks.
I hired her because she's uglier than shit. And I thought, fuck Hollywood, I'm going to get some ugly
That's what people go.
motherfuckers
The Roseanne show was so
portray
real. The
my
kids were
kids.
ugly. Yeah. Michael Fishman's the ugliest human being I've ever seen.
Well, I wanted to have some ugly Jew-looking kids.
You
I
did a
mean,
good
Jews
job.
are not the most attractive people for the most
It
part.
is unfortunate truth.
Am I right?
Yeah.
They're either gorgeous.
I don't know.
The Jews are either the most gorgeous people or just
Well, you could say that about everybody.
no, but especially the Jews, especially those from Europe.
They're usually ugly.
Yeah.
No, the Jews from Europe are usually either very beautiful
Yeah.
or they look like the devil himself.
They
The
look like the
Jews-
World War II cartoons the Nazis
yeah,
used to draw.
the Jews from the Middle East are mostly gorgeous.
Yes. Well, everyone from the Middle
But
East is
the-
gorgeous.
The European Jews, such as Sarah, are either just horrific looking as she is, or gorgeous, such as Zsa Zsa Gabor was gorgeous.
Her sister was very attractive, Melissa Gilbert.
Till
Wasn't
I
she?
read that she fucked Michael Landon. Now she's nothing but a
What?
dirty whore
Of course
too.
she did.
She had sex with Michael Landon, who portrayed her dad on
Allegedly.
Little
Wait, is that alleged
Little
or is that
Whore
true?
on the Prairie.
He went to school with my dad.
Is that
Eugene
alleged?
Horowitz.
It's true. I just
Speaking
read
of
that.
Jews, he's Eugene Horowitz.
I know.
Yeah. No, that's You read it
Was
on the
she
internet? Or?
underage?
I did read it. She had an affair with Michael Landon on the show,
Wow. How
which
old was
makes
he?
me not like Michael Landon and not like her.
She couldn't have been too old because
She
She's
was
like,
his daughter on the show, wasn't she?
yeah, Hollywood sucks a ass.
Remember when they?
Nothing but
well, how about the
perverts.
guy that went to jail and then they rehire him?
Yeah.
The pedo at Disney?
That was the casting
Disney's
director for
nothing but
children. Yeah,
pedos.
of
Went to
course.
jail.
No, Disney is nothing but pedophiles. Hey, did you hear of this girl, Madeline Soto, that they was killed at 13 and her stepfather, Stephen somebody, they found all this evidence on his phone that he was grooming and having sex with her since she was 8.
Mm.
And her mother, Jen Soto, blah, blah. And I'm reading all this stuff. The mother gave her daughter to the pervert.
Yeah.
And on I'm reading. And at the end, it goes, they both work for Disney.
Of
I was
course.
like, oh my God, of course they did.
Well, you know, Drew Barrymore's mother worked at the Comedy Store, worked for me.
Mm-mm.
Jade.
I didn't-
Oh
And
my
One
God.
day she brings in this little girl in the dress, and all she does is tell me she's pretty, the little girl. She goes, I have an audition. Would you watch her? And it's what's your name? And I remember she said, I'm the actress, Alan, not that kid.
Yikes.
Because after I babysat, I said, you ought to get that kid an agent. I'm the actress. So when she makes it, you heard what happened. They're terrible. And then Corey Feldman ran with us when we were the Outlaws for a while, when he was underage and doing heroin. And his father stole money. It's horrible what they did to them. And he would say I was abused and nobody would listen.
No, he said it all the time. I had him on my podcast.
Well, now he does, but at the time, nobody would listen to
No,
him.
they
It was
don't listen to him
sad.
anymore.
So sad.
No, they never listen. And then that Nickelodeon documentary comes out, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is weird. People at Nickelodeon are pedos."
I
What
wrote
about
a
him?
pilot for Nickelodeon about a kid who wants a better education. So he pretends to be a girl to go to an all-girls school. That's basically it.
Good premise.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
Here's what I get back after I write the script, and it goes to New York. What makes you think we want to do a cross-dresser?
No. What era was this?
I went, who? This was about 10 years ago.
Oh.
I went, well, what crazy person read this?
Yeah.
It's not even, I said, it's Bosom Buddies. It's Tootsie in high school. But this is what you get back from these people.
They're probably like, yeah.
Well, because they think pervertedly.
Yeah, they're all pervs.
You
Ugh.
remember Sparky? He made a thing called the Strawboni. It's 2 straws and it makes noise. He thinks it's something. So he sends it off to the straw company. And this is the letter he gets back. It looks like you're masturbating when you play this instrument. It's 2 straws. And you go, and that's in a letter to Sparky.
Who masturbates like this?
Who's in charge of straws that thinks that way?
I know, fucking pervert.
I mean, that's a leap. That is
Yeah.
a leap.
Yeah, what is wrong with you, sir? That's what
That's
you
a leap.
They're all degenerates.
They are.
Everybody at the top is nothing but a fucking degenerate.
Thank you.
It's unbelievable.
Now we're getting dirt. That's what I
Straw
like.
company.
Can we take a break?
Well, we can wrap up. I
We'll
got
do
it.
more again.
Yeah, no,
Thank
this is
you.
fun.
Let's do more.
Allan Stephans.
Allan
Stephans.
Stephan, I love you, Allan. Thank
I
you
love
so
you.
much for being here and telling these great stories.
Well,
We
thank
had
you for
fun.
allowing me to work for you to get those horrible stories.
Yeah. Well, play your cards right. It might happen again. Stephen. I always say Stevens. All right. we
See
have-
us all.
Love
God
ya.
bless America. Fuck all these Democrats. Fuck them, fuck them, fuck them.
So you see,